everyone to Spooky Japan podcast. We are here today with the Other Side Paranormal. How you guys doing today out there in Michigan?
Good.
I
Pretty good.
actually I actually grew up near Battle Creek, Michigan.
That was where I was born.
Yeah, in a small town of Coldwater.
That was where my aunt lived. Um, another cool thing about Coldwater that you mention it, because our son wrestles. A lot of you know that. Dan Severn's place is in Coldwater.
Yes, I knew him and his some of his children. So he's a really nice guy. I can actually say he is really nice. He's really down to earth.
I didn't know that about you, but that just makes you a little bit more interesting now.
Yeah, I still have friends, and this is for people who don't know. Next to Coldwater is Bronson, Michigan, where the inspiration for 28 days later, no, Jeepers Creepers. The
Yep.
inspiration for Jeepers Creepers happened in Battle Creek, Michigan. There was actually an event there where someone saw that kind of creature there. And I have friends, I still have school friends who live near the building where they saw the creature at. One of them can actually see it from her house, another one lives down the street. And some people are still paranoid there because they said this is the 28th year. So if you're superstitious there, this is the 28th year.
Oh
So
wow.
everyone's just like, yep. That's why people are freaking out when they live near it. But I actually asked people, I'm like, well, what is it now? And it's always been owned by the Amish. They used to use it for a while as a pig barn. But due to obviously the paranormal cannot have nice things because you know how people are, they had to board that up, and now they said people it's just graffiti all over it.
That's horrible. I
That's
mean
what I said.
the graffiti part.
Yeah, they can't use it as a pig barn because people kept going there because it was where Jeepers Creepers happened. I was like, I wanted to see it, but since it's private property, I was never gonna walk up on the property. That's rude, especially when it's still being used as something today.
Yeah, we've seen it on Facebook a lot too. If you see, you'll see a post every now and then. It'll say this is the inspiration for the Jeepers Creepers. Is like a wasn't it like a school or something like the building?
It might have been a school, but then it was owned by Amish, and they used it as, from what I was told by people there, it was used as a pig barn for a while until the Amish had to close it for people obviously not being respectful. And I was like,
Oh
this is
wow.
why people in a paranormal cannot have nice things, because other
Yeah.
people in a paranormal have to ruin it, or thrill seekers thinking it'd be fun to try and find the creature.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing. See, me and her will always try to ask it, and if they say no, it's like okay, we'll respect that because I don't want to get shot. You
No.
know, I don't want to go on someone's property and then end up having to answer to Mister Double Barrel. You know,
Yeah.
because some people don't always ask questions first. You know,
Yeah.
hey, what are you doing there? You know, so it's always best to get permission and before you just wander onto someone's property because you don't know how that person's going to react.
Hmm.
Right. That's all. Yeah, I guess that's another thing is you don't know how protective they are, especially when someone owns that property. It's like, why would you walk into someone's private property? Because you can always, and people forget this, you can always get arrested for that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we
Or
we
get your
we did
butt
have
full of
some
buck.
excitement yesterday, which I I think the firefighters here. We live in Jackson, Michigan, so I thank the firefighters here because our neighbor's garage caught fire yesterday, and I'm sitting on my couch and I can see the flames touching the tree branches.
Uh-oh.
But luckily, everybody got out. Everybody was okay. They had a cat and a dog. I think both of them made it out. So that could have been a lot worse because our neighbor that was next door to our house is like really close.
Mm.
So and my sister is really weird because my sister went and was talking to the firefighters, right? And she goes, "Thank you." And the one firefighter like looked at her weird, like they don't get thanked enough for what they do.
Yeah.
It was, so I think, yeah, we need to thank them because they put their life on the line every day, to
Yeah.
make sure that our lives are safe.
We had a
You
firefighter.
recommended.
You remember,
Sorry, what were you
Amanda?
saying, Irene?
We remember we had that retired firefighter as a paranormal teacher. Remember?
Yeah.
He was really cool. He was a firefighter, and he teaches people about paranormal, and he has some really interesting stories.
Yeah, I
That would be
recommended him
interesting.
because he doesn't teach opinions, he teaches facts. He teaches definitions on things, so it's not like you don't really know his opinion of things. He just teaches definitions and facts on things for you to kind of come up with your own opinions on things.
It's really interesting. And listening to him, you could hear you could listen to stories all night. It was so fascinating. So one question, Brett. What made you get into the paranormal?
Oh, what made me get into the paranormal was probably at first when I was really young, I didn't know my family history. Nobody told me until I got a little older, and I was probably able to understand it.
Mhm.
And then my first encounter, I was only 7 years old,
Mhm.
and that was at the elementary school, Allen School in Jackson, Michigan. I was chucking snowballs because you got like the round sewer grates, and then you got square sewer grates out by
Mhm.
the road. Well, on the playground, they had round sewer grates. I'm chucking snowballs in there in the sewer grate, and I see there's water down in there. I'm just chucking the snowballs in there, and I see like a bald head, what looked like the surface of the top of a head,
Ooh,
start to
yeah.
surface in the water, and it was yellowish,
Mhm.
like maybe decayed or rotten looking, and it had like red, blue, and purple veins on top of it. I didn't stick around because I was only 7 years old, but that was my first encounter
Mhm.
with anything that was either paranormal or somebody opened up the grate and dropped somebody's head down in it, which I highly
Ooh.
doubt. But and then my family history on my mom's side, my grandpa, her dad, they were British Isle witches from over in England, from
Mhm.
Sussex,
I
in the
remember you
rock.
posting about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rocking chair that we have that is on the other side, paranormal and the paranormal playground groups is 400 and something years old. It's our family rocking chair. It was brought from the Puritans over from England to the United States. It's been known to rock back and forth with all windows and doors closed. Been in 5 fires, and the wood never burnt. I remember the upholstery was red velvet when I was a young child. And so and also there's two black forests, one in Germany, really haunted, and the other black forest I don't think is as known haunted, and if it is, I haven't been able to find a lot on the internet but I have heard it is haunted, and that's where the wood came from to build our family rocking chair.
Isn't that where the witch's forest was? Wasn't something like that long? Which you told me that. Remember?
The which
Witch's
is what
forest. The witch's forest.
forest?
That's where the wood came from.
Yeah, that's where the wood came from, was the forest. Yeah, it was the Black Forest over in England,
Yeah.
which is,
The
if you
witch's
Google
forest.
it actually comes up on Google Maps. If you put in Black Forest, Sussex, England,
Mm-hmm.
on your Google Maps search bar, it'll
Yeah.
pop up as a big green area with a
Mm-hmm.
little clearing in the middle, which is really weird. And the clearing looks like there's a couple buildings. So, but yeah, the wood came from that area, and it was a relative of mine, like a British Isle warlock, or I guess
Mm-hmm.
male witch. I guess you would call it. So either witch or warlock, whatever terminology you would like to use. Um, but that's pretty much what got me into the paranormal. And Angie wasn't as open to it.
Mhm.
I think she's more open to it and has had more experiences the more she hangs out around me because I kind of, I don't know, I feel like at times I'm like a magnet.
Yeah,
So I think maybe I bring stuff in
yeah.
when I
You're a
go to
magnet for
haunted
everything
locations
haunted.
every now and then, or I pick up an item because I love antiques. I know
Mhm.
antiques carry a lot of energy.
Mhm.
So I have really weird, a lot of weird different things. I have a picture that scares my friend's mom. She goes, I don't like that picture. It's of a older guy and lady. It's a
Yeah.
charcoal painting.
Yeah.
And then I got a little old stern lady that has a cross on her. She looks
Mhm.
like she might have been a teacher or some authority figure at like
Mhm.
maybe a girls' home
Mhm.
or something, or a group home, but it's an old charcoal painting too, and
Yeah.
both of the backing is like
Yeah.
wood. Um, we have a mirror. My mirror is really weird. Um, it hasn't gave us any problem lately, but I got it from a friend of ours when she moved in her house. She said it just gave her the creeps, and she threw it in the closet and shut the door and never messed with it. So I goes, "Oh, I'll take it off your hands because I already had to deal with the paranormal. So I didn't
Didn't I
want it to
just bind
fall
that
into the
mirror? I thought I
huh?
bound that. I thought I bind that mirror a long time ago. I bound
Yeah,
that mirror a long time ago. I remember doing that.
yep. And then my buddy who owns the Perry Shook has a mirror exactly like it, like the twin to my mirror.
Mhm.
So I asked Mike Perry, who owns the Perry Shook, I was like, Mike, how old is your mirror? He goes, probably mid to late 1800s.
Mhm.
I'm like, ooh. But I've videoed and done like Facebook lives of this mirror, and I've
Mhm.
sitting there and watched on these videos white balls of light going into the mirror and
Mhm.
coming out of that mirror.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's probably a portal.
Mhm.
So I keep that in my hallway. So yeah, it's in our house. Well, but that's what got me into the paranormal.
Angie,
Now,
how do you feel about everything?
r- right now, I'm
No,
content.
Angie, I'm asking Angie, how does she feel about it?
Oh,
Oh, I'm all right with it.
You sure?
Sometimes I'm not, but yeah.
Okay.
Are you a
So,
skeptic or a believer, or you just go with it with Brett?
A believer.
okay. Because I know you go on a lot of investigations, so I know you're a believer now.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
I don't know if she was so much in the beginning. Like, I hid the fact that what my abilities were from my whole family for years, even though it scared the crap out of me when I was really young at 7 years old, because I don't know of anyone who raises their hand like, hey, I want to see ghosts or spirits or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But when I was young, I was afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid of them, yeah, but I was also, it seemed like more of, not so much, I was afraid of the spirits, but I was more afraid of the people who were living, because if you tell them, and it seems like nowadays it's more acceptable. When I was younger, because I'm 49, pretty much knocking 50 in January, on the 1st, I'll be 50. So back in the day, you would get picked on. You would get called a freak, a creep, a weirdo, a crackpot,
Mm-hmm.
and people would pick on you, and they were ruthless. They didn't care. They didn't care
Nope.
how you felt. They would just pick on you. So I was like, I don't want to be known as the crackpot, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so literally, I waited till I was about 18 years old
Mm-hmm.
and told people I've
Mm-hmm.
seen stuff since 7 years old. And then my stepdad was like, it's kind of weird because my stepdad's never seen anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But his mother, my step grandma, was really, really, really religious, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, okay, well, I can't believe that you can't see that because he pretty much gave me a hard time at first. He was like, you do not see that. And then I started showing him pictures and videos and equipment going off. And now he don't say that to me. He's like, well, you be careful when you go on this investigation. Him and my mom will tell me that now, but he at first was like, oh, you don't see that stuff. But he was like, but I do believe that there's aliens. And I told him, I was like, well, I've never seen an alien, but I do believe in them. So you don't have to be able to see something to actually believe that it's there.
Yeah.
Because I'm also a firm believer that even though I haven't seen an alien, there's all in planets and planets we haven't even explored, and we can't be the only life forms out there. I mean, that's just my train of thought.
Mm-hmm. What was your most craziest experience when you went on investigating?
What was the craziest one?
Mm-hmm.
Angie, you're gonna be mad at me.
Go
The
ahead.
cra- the craziest
Don't
one
worry.
she does not want me to talk about because it's really embarrassing.
The ending part.
The ending
Always
part
tell
is
you
so embarrassing, but I tell people that just so they know that even if, you know, you're not looking for a certain entity or something, you still should be aware of going into buildings. So we went to Birch Run. It was the first time I seen the Perry Shook, which my buddy, it actually is up for sale. I know of probably good, maybe 5, 6 haunted, legit, nice haunted locations for sale.
Mhm.
Which that's my ultimate goal is to get into that and have a location that I can host haunted stuff. So, anyways, we're in Saginaw. We were staying in Birch Run at the Best Western. So I left all my equipment because I just wanted to go into the Perry Shook and talk to Mike Perry and just be like, hey, I heard this is haunted. I wanted to get a beer, because yes, I drink, but not every day. But I was like, hey, all American boy, I love my beer and I love my rock and roll and this and that. So I'm like, I want to go in there and get me a cold beer, get me some good food, get the old lady a nice mixed drink, and some food. But my one stipulation is I don't want to go into a paranormal investigation all schnockered, right? So we'd never go into a place, and I warn people, don't go in there high off your butt. Don't go in there drunk off your butt because then you're more, how do I want to say that? You're more susceptible to attacks.
Because you lose your inhibitions, that's why.
Yeah.
that story.
So we're staying in Birch Run. All my equipment is there because I just, packed it anyways. Then we go there and I'm looking in the Perry Shook like this, and across the street is an old comedy club.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I got the idea for doing it was a guy named Prozac or Steve Shippey. He raps for the rapper Tech Nine's label Strange Music, but he lives in Saginaw and he does paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
So everything he catches, he films at the Temple Theater and stuff like that and
Mm-hmm.
charges tickets.
Mm-hmm.
So he had the old comedy club, which is on the corner of Ames and North Hamilton Street
Mm-hmm.
in Saginaw. That was one. And then the Perry Shook Kitty Corner was another one on that video. It's called A Haunting on Hamilton Street. So if you got Amazon Prime, you can watch it for free. You just put in like Prozac hauntings and then you can watch the stuff. So I'm looking in the Perry Shook like this, and I didn't know that the dudes who were taking stuff into the other building, because I didn't see the sign that said Comedy Club on front. I didn't know they were drywalling the place, and I'm just looking in the Shook, and finally they spoke up like, hey, what are you doing? They probably thought I was trying to case the joint because I probably looked weird staring into these windows
You did.
of this place for like 15, 20 minutes. They're probably, I don't know, what the heck's this, crackpot doing? I'm like, they finally spoke up. They're like, hey, what are you doing? I said, hey, I heard this place is haunted. Like I said, I wanted to get something to eat and drink, or something to eat and drink. And they're like, oh, it's not open. It opens up tomorrow. Well, it didn't open up tomorrow because I got on the thing and looked it up. It didn't open up till like the weekend or something. I was like, okay, well, we'll go back and stuff. And I asked the tall guy, I goes, hey, man, I goes, do you know where the old comedy club is? And he goes, like this, like pointing at the building that they're working in. And the short dude heard him and goes, don't say that, man. The basement gives me the creeps. I'm like, ooh, basement. I start rubbing my hands together. I'm like, yay. I'm still nosy, but I love to get permission. Like I said, I don't want to get beat up or anything like that. So I goes, oh, cool. He goes, I'm showing him some of my pictures. He goes, you guys want to go around and look? You guys want to walk through and look around? I'm like, I'm like, seriously? He's like, yeah, seriously. He goes, go ahead, feel free. You can roam the whole building. And another thing that would probably bring negative energy to that building is there's a Saginaw police station substation on the corner of the building. So it's actually part of the building. So, they would obviously probably got a holding tank there. So they're bringing criminals in and out of that place. And so everything's fine before we get there. We're going in, walking around, the whole thing. Everything's fine till we get to the basement. And then when you get in the basement, my whole top of my hair, it's usually my dead giveaway, just starts tingling. And then I feel my arms, the hair on my arms become a hairy color. Feel the hair on my arms tingling. And I look over at Angie because she's on my left side. And I goes, there's something in here like right now. My equipment's 14 miles away. I had no equipment on me, only my phone. And maybe about 30 seconds later, she goes, we need to leave and leave now. I'm like, yeah, we need to leave and leave now. So I felt so embarrassed. I had to go up there and tell the guys, hey, look, we're leaving. We just wanted to let you know that we're leaving, that way you don't think we're still lost in this building, because it takes up one whole city block. It's Saginaw. So I sit there and tell them that, and I get out there on the corner, Ames and North Hamilton outside, and Angie goes, why'd you want to leave so fast? She goes, as soon as you said there's something in here, she said her stomach started churning like, whoa. And I goes, no way, mine too. She said, as soon as that happened, she said, I farted and had the liquid poops. I said, no way, me too. So that is the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened, the most creepiest thing that's ever happened. No equipment. All I had was my gifts. And when I legit have a picture, and I've been posting it on some of my reels, you'll see a building that says comedy, and usually afterwards you'll see a
I
phone.
think, yeah, I
You'll see a
remember.
phone with this silhouette of a person, and it's creepy. The dude has like, if you blow it up, he has like red lips, jagged teeth. And when I talk to Prozac, I'm giving him thumbs up and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, what'd you find in the comedy club? And he goes, what's with all the thumbs up? It's like he thought I was being disrespectful. I goes, I don't mean no disrespect, but look, dude, this is what I caught. And he goes, stay out of there. I'm like, why? He goes, it's evil. So I had to ask, I goes, you mean like a person evil? Because if you're nasty in life and you die, you're usually nasty after death. Or if you're a nice, happy-go-lucky person, you're happy-go-lucky. And he messaged back, he goes, no, it's like legit demonic. I'm like, well, that's why it wanted to make me poop. Not to be gross, but I mean, that's pretty much what it did. So I was like, oh, lovely. So we drive to the local McDonald's. I'm like, ah. And then I have to still go to the hotel. As soon as we get to the hotel, I hop in the shower. I'm just like, that was like the nastiest, like most embarrassing thing in my life. And I can see Irene over there laughing her butt off. She's like, hey.
It's
But
funny
that's,
until it happens to you.
yeah. Oh, I'm sure I'm not the only person that's ever happened to.
Yeah,
Usually it's people getting sick, not coming up from the top and not from the bottom end.
it's
But
coming up the other side. I know.
yeah, that in our house was
Hmm.
not this one so much. This one's not so bad. I
Nope.
mean, I think the old lady's curious at times, but the other house, that one was. Those were the two weirdest things ever.
That other house was pretty busy. Let's put it that way. I mean, there's a whole bunch of graves around that house. You know that, right?
Yeah, and we've been to some pretty interesting places. Like I've been to places. Um, who's that? Madison's place, the president. It's
Mm-hmm.
called Montpelier.
Oh,
Mm.
darn. Yeah.
Yeah, down in Virginia. And he used to have slaves there, and which is really weird. Is the James Madison cemetery that's on his family is buried on that property. So they got gravestones. They got grave markers. Then they have a sign that says cemetery grave, or I'm sorry, slave cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought the equipment because we were going to the Exchange Hotel that night. So we were trying to find something to do in the morning. So we went to Montpelier, James Madison's place, and it used to be a lot more property to it. But when I went on to the cemetery or the slave cemetery, there's hundreds of graves there, and it's all unmarked slaves that were buried there. And they have the little flags that are in the ground because they're doing the surveying to the ongoing investigation to see how many slaves were there. And as I'm walking around through there, my K2 is like going nuts, like
Mm.
just bling. I'm like, oh wow. So they were definitely active out there. In certain areas in his home too
Mm-hmm.
was just really weird. So yeah, we've been to some places that are pretty interesting. We've got a cemetery. Speaking of unmarked graves, we got a cemetery in Jackson. We used to have an old poorhouse and stuff. It was called the Jackson Poorhouse. And for the longest time, there was only one cemetery marker there, no name. All it said was something about served in the military. Didn't have the person's name, nothing. And but it said like U.S. Army or something like that, but no name on it. Is the only one that was marked in that cemetery, but they put a historical marker there now, and they renamed it Jackson Poorhouse Cemetery because right beyond the cemetery was where the old poorhouse used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the weird thing is they're bulldozing that area
Mm,
with
darn.
not where the cemetery is, but behind it where the old poorhouse is. So I was wondering, that may spike up paranormal activity because they're bulldozing where the old poorhouse used to be. And I came across the article on the internet, and it said something about there is at least what about 100 and some people buried in that cemetery with no markers at all.
And we always lose service on our phones inside that cemetery.
Yeah, and we'll end up losing service by a couple trees. My K2 would be picking up stuff also in that cemetery. We've we got we're literally twins today because we've got this thing here. It's called the Old Mill Parafest. I
Mm-hmm.
I know Amanda was talking about Parafests and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I totally dumbfounded the people there because I was like, I had the cat ball, and I was legit asking questions and getting answers with just the cat ball, and I had the digital EMF meter and the K2 and different pieces of equipment, but there's a statue of a Potawatomi, like Native American
Mhm.
there. Something was telling me, like, hey man, well, put your ball by this native statue. So I did, and all that area used to be like Potawatomi Native American like property. And I'm talking to, and I didn't know at the time it was some native from back in the day. Because I was like, "Are you a Native American? Light the ball up if you are, and all that good stuff." It lit up, and I goes, "How old are you?" And I'm going, and I get to like 100, 150, 200. I'm like 210, 200. And it's still lit up. I'm like 212, and it didn't. And I'm like 211, and it lit back up. So I said,
Mm.
"You've been here for about 211 years?" It lit up again. So I was like, "Oh, okay." So I went downstairs. I goes, "Does this date mean anything to you guys?" And I'm like, "About 200 years ago." She goes, "That's when this building was put here." She goes, "Before that, it was Potawatomi Native American thing." I goes, "Okay." And I was showing her the video, and they're like, "How did you do that?" I'm like, "I don't know." Because sometimes we went to the Arlington Hotel, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
walk through the third floor,
Mm-hmm.
an aisle, and I just get little things. It's like, "Hey, put your ball here." Boom. And I put the ball there, and it starts lighting up.
Mm-hmm.
So I can feel sometimes where they want me to be, where they want me to put the ball at,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. Not all the time, but sometimes it works, and it worked really well at the Arlington Hotel in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Then I went by the elevator, and there's like a big like bureau thingy,
Mm-hmm.
and something was telling me, "Hey, put that ball on this bureau." And people are walking by, and I'm asking questions, and they're stopping, and they're looking at me, they're looking at this ball going off, and they're just like, "Oh." I'm like, "Hey, I'm sorry, but I don't mean to creep you out." Oh,
And we went to Lizzie Borden.
oh yeah, and we've been to Lizzie Borden, the
Yep.
Crescent Hotel,
I was gonna ask you about that.
Arlington.
I saw you went to the Crescent Hotel, and you're posted you got some activity there, and I was curious on that. It's supposed to be the most haunted hotel in America, I believe.
That was funny. Not real. It Parts of it was funny because they have the tour. And
Mhm.
as we're going on a tour, we're up the steps right by our hotel room, which our hotel room was one of the ones, because we got to upgrade, and we didn't know that was one of the ones that had activity in it. I guess a couple was there, and they seen a spirit walk through the wall and walk out another wall, or the room we stayed in. And as the group is coming around the steps to step around, the lady goes, "I don't want to step there because your motion detector ball might go off." I goes, "Yeah, but that won't make the EMF meter go off." And I told her, I was like, "And besides," I goes, "It's fine, go ahead, walk by." We started walking by, and I was like, "Besides, it's gonna go off here in about a second." And all of a sudden, blink, 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 blink. And I look at her, I go, "See, I told you." And then all the people there that were supposed to be doing the tour stopped and are watching me and Angie. And then the one girl was like, "This is more interesting than the tour." Because all they do is take you around.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they'd give you time to investigate if you had a ball, but it's a timed thing for these
Yeah.
tours. So you don't have a lot of time to go and actually investigate. So the best bet is just to do it on your own.
The
Yeah.
tour, I think, is more of the history
Yeah,
of the
it's
place.
yeah, it's more of a historical type tour
That's
Mm.
usually what they are.
to let you know. But if you take the tour, you do get to go downstairs in the morgue, which we didn't
Nice.
take the tour. So I'm thinking next time we go, I'm taking the
I think
tour.
you should go down to the morgue.
Yeah, I'm going down to the morgue.
It's definitely on my bucket list to go there, and they have like the most haunted room in there. You can reserve in advance, which is what I would try and do. I think I want. What is this name? Michael's room.
Michael's room. Yep. They
And
they
then there's
actually have a statue of him in the lobby. He was like a stonemason.
Ooh.
And
yeah,
then if
that's the
you
most haunted room. Then there's a second most haunted room that you can reserve too. It's more on the top floor. It's supposed to be a woman's room. I forgot her
yeah,
name
that
though.
was on the third floor. Wasn't that on the other
Third floor.
side of our steps? That was the like nurse lady. I forget what her name was, but that was like the second most haunted one, like right after Michael's room. And then
Yeah.
there's a book of photographs in the lobby, like a picture album, and you start flipping through them, and you see all these different pictures that people have snapped of different paranormal stuff. With a whole book of like paranormal pictures that people have caught there. It was definitely pretty interesting.
Couples will say they'll check into the room with the nurse's room, and she doesn't like couples fighting. So if you're fighting and you unpack, she repacks for you. Like they'll step out and they come back to their stuff repacked and their suitcases by the door.
Somebody was telling us that somebody was there and that happened.
Oh yeah, there was one of the workers I think was telling us that had happened.
Yeah, I
That
was
the
reading
people
stories
were
about
arguing
that.
and they come back to their room and all their stuff's packed up. I'm like,
And
ah,
yeah, because there was a couple who left a review like, yeah, we stayed there, but we ended up checking out because we walked in, we're fighting about something, and then we stepped out to get something to eat real quick. We came back, all of our stuff was repacked into suitcases, and it was sitting by the door. So their luggage was sitting by the door too. Like, okay, leave. So like we
We're
we
just
going.
just
took our stuff and we left. We checked out and we left. Like we took the hint.
we just recently had something weird like that happen. And the weirdest part was I didn't notice the headstone at this location. And it's a bed and breakfast with a
Okay.
legit person's name. And I've got it on our pictures. It's not the one from the other side paranormal, not the big monument, but it's the other small tombstone that you see in my pictures. And Angie's the one that caught it. It was at a place called the Victorian Villa Inn Bed and Breakfast in Union City, Michigan.
That's where it was at Union City.
And there is a legit headstone on the back deck, like just off to the side of the back deck. But you were saying something about stuff getting packed up. Me and Angie had our room locked. And for some reason, we had a bag that was not ours, and that bag was not in there.
Your bag.
A grocery bag with a small size jogging pants and shirt and another shirt. But our door was locked, and we were the only one booked in the inn. And I'm like, how does this get there? And it wasn't there when we went to breakfast. And we come back, and there's a bag of clothing that is not ours located in our room, like as soon as we walk in the door to the left. I'm like, what the heck? So it just came from out of the blue, and we're still dumbfounded to this day how the heck that bag got into a locked hotel room.
Well,
That
spirits play tricks. That they can do. They can bring stuff. They can remove stuff. They can change around the room. They can do whatever they want to, and get out of the picture. They can do whatever they want to. They can do whatever they want to. Spirits,
Yeah,
right?
but what a horrible hint. Here's some jogging pants. It's like
It was a whole sweat outfit.
yeah, it was a whole sweat outfit, like a small size sweat
yeah, that's
outfit. And I can't fit in a
what a horrible
small sweat
message.
outfit, and
Me
Angie
neither.
can't either. So it's like we know that's not our clothes.
Hmm.
And we went down to eat breakfast. It was not there. We come up, and both of the people, like the older lady, right, that was the host or the owner, was downstairs. Her son had come in. He was downstairs. There's nobody else in the whole inn. And we go
Hmm.
upstairs to, get ready to pack our stuff. And there's a grocery sack with clothes in it right there. I'm like, I look at her and go, where did this come from? I goes, we just
didn't
walked
hear
down
so
for
sad.
breakfast. And I'm like, it wasn't there. We come up and it's there chilling as soon as you walk in the door, right to the left, like right in plain sight. I'm like, that was weird. I mean, I don't mind having them leave us gifts, but I don't want their unwanted clothing.
Give me a gift I can actually use.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not a small pair of jogging pants
Yeah,
or
like
jogging
that's
outfit.
rude.
You can fit in it.
So I don't know what that was all about. I don't know what they were trying to prove or
to be me walking around. This is just a rude hint, okay?
Maybe they didn't like the color of because it was like a purplish colored, jogging suit,
Oh yeah, no.
jogging pants, and like a sweatpants, and like a sweatshirt
I
and
wonder
stuff.
if
I was
it's
like,
the
"Oh, that's
ladies.
just kind of
I wonder if
weird,"
it's the
but
ladies' clothes that was there. I wonder if it belonged to one of the women who used it, who used to stay there, and something happened to her, and she died, and her spirit is in the room too. I wonder if it's her spirit that's there too.
I don't know. And the only other weird thing that happened, because we have one of them like scare bears, like the little Boo Bear
Yeah.
Mhm.
thingies with a little like REM pod or EMF meter
Carrier
thing
pod.
in it. Um, we went all over the place bringing that thing, and nothing's set it off. We go there, and we had him sitting on the little like settee old couch thingy. All of a sudden,
Mhm.
we hear. Tick. I'm like, and we look, and it was only for a split second. I was like, oh, and I showed the owner of the video because there's like it's not the things that you go up on the roof. Cupola.
Yeah.
It's not a cupola because a cupola, she was explaining, is in the center of a home,
Mhm.
or basically usually in the center. Towers are more toward the outside edges of houses, so it was like a tower, like a like an observatory tower or something.
Mhm.
And there's steps going up there, and we put the cat ball there right by the steps, and it started going off and stuff. I showed her the video, and she's like, "That's pretty interesting." She goes, "Send that to my husband because he's a skeptic." And so I'm like, "Okay, all right." So I tried sending it to him, and her son was trying to help me out to send it to him and stuff because I was like, "Man," I goes, "Your place is kind of cool, but a little bit weird." Because, I mean. I don't know of any other place we went that they try to eh, basically gift us their old clothing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But here, you guys can take this. I don't like it.
that's interesting.
So I have a question for you guys.
Okay.
Ooh.
I'll start with you, Amanda. What got you
Okay.
into the paranormal?
I always had a gift when I was younger, but I was like you, I was afraid to use it just because when you're younger and you have the gift, you get more scared, especially when you don't have anyone around you who is open about having a gift. So you don't know how to use it, but also at the same time, I grew up as a minister's daughter, a Baptist minister's daughter. So my experience, and I can't say this for everyone in religion, but my experience was everyone around me was afraid if you had a gift, you obviously were summoning something, you were practicing witchcraft, or you were possessed by a demon, or you had a demon attachment if you had a gift.
So you're a preacher's daughter.
Yes.
Now, what did your dad think about? Did you tell your dad that you can have these like gifts? And what did he think about it? If and
They
if
thought
and
it
when you
was
did
like a
tell him.
demon. They thought it was like a demon possession because to them, everything's a demon in disguise. So if you saw or heard them, you actually it was demons, and you're probably doing something to attract demons, or you're being possessed by a demon, or you had a demon attachment. Which, as a child, that made things extra scary.
Oh,
Especially when you're trying to tell them, no, I'm not doing witchcraft. No, I'm not summoning the devil. And no one's believing you. Like, well, obviously you have to do something to be attracting and having these demons attached to you. And of course, as a kid, you're like, but I'm not trying to
right.
explain. You're not doing anything. Was the scariest thing ever because you're like, no one believes me. I don't know what am I supposed to do. So finally, I got more into it once I was able to get older and step away from the church.
Oh, so is your dad and your mom still around?
My dad, no. My mom is still in Michigan. Yeah,
Okay. As you got older and stuff, did your dad start being more open to it or anything like that?
not really. So it's not something I really talk to. I would talk to you about them with it because it's just, unfortunately, a lot of religious people believe that everything is a demon, and then I'm always like, no. Once you actually start getting to the paranormal, you're like, not everything's a demon. Not everything's gonna hurt you. I mean, doesn't mean not some things won't hurt you, but not everything's a demon. Not everything is gonna hurt you. It's just
No, I believe that you're younger than us.
I am.
I would
She
say
is.
I'm 49, Angie's 48 now.
Yeah.
Um, our kids are 27, 26, and 25. I'm assuming you're probably around that age or close to 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just saying that because like my father's still around, but he's in his 70s, so maybe your dad had like a health issue or something.
Well, he's in South Carolina now.
Oh, okay. So he's still around. He just ain't in Michigan.
No, not in Michigan anymore.
Oh, okay. So he's still around and kicking.
Yeah, he still is.
Oh, cool. Well, that's a good thing then. Irene, what about you? What got you into the
Don't
paranormal?
tell how old I am because I'll curse you.
21.
Yeah, you're 21.
I'm 10 times older than you. You know that. Oh,
I didn't
me?
say that.
Um, Pearl Harbor. Yeah. I went I went on the aircraft carrier. I look down and I see this going like this. I go, don't pull me on the one, don't pull me on the one. I was in a really weird trance and I go, ooh. I was doing this, I go, ooh, nope. Ooh. So I'm going back and forth. I go, yeah, not doing this. My mom looked at me. She looked at me. She looked at me. She looked at me. She called me. I said, I couldn't hear anybody. I ooh, like this. And I go, yeah, not doing that. And finally I got out, but Mom, not going there anymore. She goes, yeah, I know what happened to you. I could see the hand going like this, yanking you in the water. I said, yeah, those are the spirits in the water. Those were the spirits that were yanking in the water.
So
Ooh, that.
Pearl Harbor is what got you into the paranormal?
No, that was my first experience. Second experience, you know where I used to live, right?
Oh, you talk about your apartment.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what got me into it, right? I either had a choice, either you live with it or you die. I go, okay, I'll live with it. So I had to live with it and I had to accept it. So I
You
accept.
don't like to talk about that place much, do you?
No, 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 because it knows that it knows that I know, and it threatened me once when I moved here 3 years ago. Said, don't you dare talk about this place that you used to live. I said, I'm going to talk about it wherever. If you don't like it, that's too bad. I'm going to talk about it whether you like it or not. And I told it like blank, blank, blank you. I went like that. And it finally disappeared. But yeah, it's only 45 minutes away from where I live now. But it still exists. It's a you buy to own the suites.
You lived in Canada too, though.
Yeah, I did. I lived and I worked in a haunted hotel. Yeah, everything was haunted that I did. Everything's haunted.
There's one I mentioned. There's a couple cool places over in Japan. Of course, everybody knows the Suicide Forest or
Mhm.
Akigahara. Everybody knows
Mhm.
that one.
Yep.
There was one I was watching a television show, like
Mhm.
a scary show, like a haunted, like Ghost Adventures or something to that aspect. And there's a place, and I'm pretty sure Irene knows where it's at.
Mhm.
It was called back in the day the Osaka Weekly
My
Hotel.
stay hotel, right?
Yep, now it's called My Stays Hotel. And there
Mhm.
were people that were getting pushed, scratched
Mhm.
inside that hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the whole story on what was going on, but I was like, okay, that sounds like something that I want to go check out. I mean, not because I purposely want to get scratched, but just because I love the paranormal, and it's like, okay, and but I legit haven't. But like, I still want to go back to the comedy club, even though that happened. I'm like,
You're on
why?
your
I'm
own.
like, why do I want to go to this comedy club? Because every time I go by it in Saginaw, I'm like,
It
I'll
calls
point
you.
it out and kind of be a butthole to Angie. I'll be like, hey, do you want to go there? And she kind of flies the universal wave symbol at me, that
Wear a
everybody knows.
diaper when you go there.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna do that that universal wave because that is disrespectful, but that's what she gives me. She flies the old bird there. She has a license to fly the bird. So every time I go there, like I'll drive by the Shook and I'll show people where the Shook is. And then the Montague Inn, that place I definitely am going back to because there's still questions I have about that place. It's really weird. Like I know for a fact, it's just I just know that there was an accident in front of that place because I showed Angie. I got the digital EMF meter and I
Hmm.
walked into the mouth of the driveway
Hmm.
and I walked out into the oncoming traffic lane and my whole EMF meter is going off. As soon as I cross over the double yellow line,
Hmm.
it stops. I take a couple steps backwards, it
Hmm.
starts going off again. I looked at Angie, I goes, I'm pretty darn sure there was an accident here. And I
Hmm.
had Paratech, which a lot of times I don't like Paratech because it's a word generator app, and that stuff to me at times is just a bunch of rubbish. Like
Hmm.
Yeah.
sometimes it'll give you words that are legit, and sometimes it just gives you words that makes no sense to you. But
Because
that day,
it picks
because
up it picks up anything in the radio waves, and it doesn't mean it comes from that room. It doesn't mean it comes from the spirits in the room at all. It just picks up whatever it picks up, right? So
yeah,
it's
it's
really.
like a almost like a word generator app. But that day it was really weird because right after I mentioned that, I had Paratech on. And I asked out loud, I was like, hey, was there an accident that happened in front of here? And I got 3 words: accident, leg, limping. Like
Mm,
one right after another. I'm like, okay. I'm like,
mm,
that's kind of weird. I'm like, and my EMF meter's going off at the same time. The
mhm,
cat ball's going off in that area. I'm like, okay, no. I know something happened. And then I have the picture of what looks like a black lady, like a colored lady's face in the water. I do believe that was at Lake Linton, right behind the Montague Inn in Saginaw. And Sean, he's part of the band, but he used to be the nighttime innkeeper there.
mhm,
Um, LaShawn LaFleur, I think his name is, but he plays for a band called Redburn,
I was
drums
like,
and
"What's that
guitar and all that, and sings too. But he was out there at service drive smoking a cigarette, and he was telling me and Angie, he said he came back in. He's the only one in the nighttime innkeeper. Nobody was even booked. And he said he came in and there's wet. It looked like child's footprints on the floor, and there's that lake behind there. So when he told me that, I'm like, and I got that picture of that little black girl's face in the water. I'm thinking when he told me that, I'm thinking, oh, a drowning victim.
yeah, that's what I'm picking up too. She
I'm
drowned
like,
in the water. Yeah.
I don't know if it was her fault or if there was foul play involved in that. But in that river, also that comedy club, if you cross over the Lake Linton and there's a little park area and then there's other water, it's like the Saginaw River, because you can swim across the park thingy and then jump in the other water, swim across. It's like one street over, but you got to go over the bridge in the water. And there's Hamilton Street, so that whole area is weird. And on the video, the haunting on Hamilton Street, there used to be 3 owners of that comedy club: a
Hmm.
guy, his old lady, and his old lady's sister. And
Hmm.
you can hear Prozac asking about the third owner. He goes, there used to be a third owner, didn't there? And then the lady said, yeah, it was my sister. She jumped off the bridge and committed suicide, jumped into the Saginaw River. And as Prozac's asking her this stuff, she's looking around at the top of the building like she's looking at the ceiling, like she's scared. And she's like, "Oh, you don't know?" She's like, "I don't want to say nothing. I don't want," like, she was like legit scared of whatever was in that building. I don't know if it was the dude in the basement, like that demonic entity, but she was legit. You could see it on her face. She didn't want to
The
talk about it.
the little girl fell in the river by accident. She was playing near the water and she didn't know how to swim. She just, that's what
That's
happened to her.
probably what it was then, just a
Yeah,
drowning victim that
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
fell in the
There
water.
wasn't foul play. Nope. They near the picnic area. They were all the people were sitting down having their lunch or having their picnic lunch, and then she went over by the water and she didn't know how deep it was, and she wasn't big enough to swim, and she didn't know how to swim, and she just drowned.
Yeah, see, it's really weird. I love when I can get pictures like that, but I love it when I don't, because then I know there's something there. Once I get a picture like in the water and a
Yeah,
clear face like that, I'm
yep,
like, okay, something happened. Now I got to dig more in to see what happened and why.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Oh, I gotta tell you, this cat's sitting in front of the camera, right? Because he's saying your house is haunted, and he's the only time he makes a beeline in front of the camera right now, right? Because you're he does this every time there's a haunted room, and he won't let me see anything. He won't let me look at anything. He'll just plant himself in front of me and said, "Okay, this place is haunted. Yet you don't need to see it because he sees it."
you know, it's really weird that you say that.
Mhm.
We've done a couple investigations, or went on a couple investigations with psychic medium Chris Fleming.
Mhm.
And our first one we went on to was Ashmore Estates in Ashmore, Illinois, the old poorhouse.
Mhm.
And then we went to a place called Conover Square Mall. It used
Mhm.
to be a piano
Mhm.
manufacturing place. They made Conover and cable pianos and stuff.
Mhm.
And so Chris remembered us from the second time around because he was like, "Hey, aren't you that dude that has that creepy chair?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "That's me." So, but we you were mentioning your cat and stuff. Well, there was this special needs kid that was at the Ashmore Estates at the poorhouse, and
Mhm.
he brought his cat with him. He had his
Mhm.
cat on a leash,
Mhm.
and you know how they say pets are more
Mhm.
susceptible to spirit energy and little children. So I asked him because he was there with, I think, his mom and his cat, and
Mhm.
and his cat's name was Dapple.
Mhm.
So I asked him, I goes, "Hey," I goes, "do you bring your cat with you? Because, he can pick up on stuff." He goes, "Yeah." So we go by the steps, and I don't know if it was because I could hear people upstairs, so I don't know if they found a ball up there and had kicked it to the end of the hallway and it came bouncing down the steps, or if something pushed it. That I
Mhm.
don't know, but the cat wanted to go up there
Mhm.
and check it out, and he's like yanking on the cat. He's like, "No, no." But then on the spirit box, Chris Fleming is like, that dude and the cat was Dapple. His cat was all in the same room as
Mhm.
all of us. We're all gathered in this one room, and you can hear and see Chris Fleming go, "What's that cat's name?" And you hear across the spirit box, you hear something say, "Dapple," like that. Well, what the heck? And,
Yeah.
and that was at the Ashmore Estates.
Yeah.
And then when we went to Conover, like I said, sometimes I just get feelings on where to put equipment and where to do this, that, and that. So they had a room that the door
Mhm.
was locked, but there's a window that had no glass in it. And there's an old briefcase thing. So I'm like, that looks pretty old. I'll put that right on that. And the EMF meter, the digital one going off. And then I see this picture that somebody had colored with
Mhm.
like marker, like a child's drawing, right?
Mhm.
I put it up there, and it started going off. And one of the hosts was like, what is that you got that up against? And I used the little flashlight. He goes, it's a picture of something. And he looks,
Mhm.
he goes, oh my gosh. I'm like, what? He goes, that was the owner's daughter's drawing. I'm
Ooh.
like, oh, lovely.
Mm.
So, and they didn't even know that that had any type of energy attached to it or the briefcase. And so they thanked me and Angie. They're like, thank you for showing us that brand new hotspot. I was like, dude, I was like, all I know is I get feelings sometimes. Hey, stop here. Put your cat ball down. Put your digital voice recorder down. You know, start recording. You know, do this. Put the cat ball down. Put the EMF meter down. So, but when we go down in the basement, the sub basement, there's a basement and then like a sub basement even lower. We get in the basement and we're all sitting around because they would take turns on each floor, you
Mm.
know, 'cause there's a pretty big group. So Chris would take people down in the basement and we're all sitting around in these chairs and he had the spirit box out and he'd tell everybody, okay, introduce yourself, tell us your name and stuff. So when the first person said their name, he'd ask the spirit box, you know, or the spirits, he'd be like, okay, now, what's that person's name? And
Mhm.
it went around the whole thing and repeated everybody's name. And when it got to my name, is really weird because, like you said, he remembered us and he's like, hey, you're the guy that had the cool rocking chair. I'm like, yep. You know, we do, but we don't. My aunt has it, my mom's sister. But so we get in
Mm.
the basement and he sits there and goes, no, what's this fellow's name? And they go, Teddy, you know, because that's my real name, but I go by Brett Levi on Facebook.
Yep.
So even before I can say my name, you know, they're like, he's like, hey, what's this fellow's name? And they go, Teddy. And I go, he goes, introduce yourself. I'm like, Teddy. And then they repeat it and they go, Teddy. So they said it twice. I'm like, oh, okay. Obviously, they actually like me, which is cool because I do tend to get a lot of first time places that I go, and I don't know if I'm gonna get stuff, but I'm
Yeah.
fairly lucky on getting stuff, and I think the reason why, and maybe the reason why a lot of people wouldn't catch stuff their first time going is, like you said, Amanda, with going into that nurse's room. You know, if you're arguing, they're
Yep.
not gonna show, or if you give them a hard time, they're not gonna show you as much as you would like to get,
No.
as much proof.
That is
Pretty,
one thing we said before in this
Yep.
show is,
Yep.
especially when there's places I went to multiple times, especially after you get to know the spirits there is some people with their energy, especially when you feel the energy, you're just like, this person's not gonna get anything. If you
Yep.
walk in somewhere with a bad attitude or bad energy, it's like a human. They're not gonna want to deal with you either.
Yeah.
They're just gonna be like, you have a bad attitude, you have bad energy. Why do I want to interact with you?
Yep. Or even baggage that you're carrying beforehand that you had someplace else. They know that you have baggage and they're not gonna even bother with you. So the best thing to do is release your baggage before you go in and make sure you check yourself. And then you can go in and you can introduce yourself.
yeah, I think that's generally why I catch a lot of stuff on my first time around because I go
Your
in
energy.
there with the attitude of, okay, I'm gonna be respectful because I don't want to be mean because I don't know how they're gonna react. And
At the same time, the places that are haunted is pretty much in one way or another their home.
Yep.
So it'd be like if someone came into your home and started yelling at you, are you gonna really want to talk to them, or are you just gonna be like, I'm going to be in another room, far away from you. I'm gonna talk to these other people over here who are nice to me.
yeah, it seems like the more nicer people get more
Hmm.
Yeah,
pictures, more digital voice recorder recordings, more
Yep.
cat ball activation, EMF activation, and that's because they are genuine and they aren't acting like jerks, I guess would be the word I
Hmm.
could
yeah.
use, and make it sound nice, you know, without cursing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, jerks, I guess would be the proper word to say. I mean,
Yep.
if you're going to
Yep.
go on there and act like a jerk, then
Yeah.
they're probably going to treat you like a jerk.
Well, yeah. Or else you'll get attacked one way or another.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a movie, and it was on Netflix. There's two really well-known haunted houses in California. There's the Winchester and the
Hmm.
Whaley House. And there's a movie about the Whaley House, and there's this black guy had a camera, he had equipment, and the spirit did something to where it broke his camera on that movie I was watching on Netflix. Is the I think it's called the Whaley House or something like that. And he started cussing at the spirit and
Oh yeah.
yelling at it and threatening it. And you see the black dude get picked up and thrown against the wall. I'm like, oh, I hope that never happens to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying that it can't never happen, because you always see different videos, which I haven't seen. Not, I haven't had a video of anything moving yet. I'd love to get something moving, but I've watched videos of stuff moving. Like
Mm.
the Haunting on Hamilton Street video I have, there's a room where you legit see a dining room table or dining room chair just go slide. Now, the
Ooh.
only way I would say, to jerry rig that would be to tie like a clear monofilament fishing line onto it and pull it, you know. But I'm a firm believer on, if I don't catch nothing, you're not catching nothing.
Yeah.
Because I've also went into places that I haven't caught nothing. We've been in there like 3 hours or something, or 2 hours, and you don't catch nothing.
Yeah.
But it's like a hide and seek contest, like a hide and seek game. Because it's a two-way street. I mean, you got to be able to see them, they got to be able to
Yeah.
see you. But if you're acting like a butthead, then they're probably gonna be hiding in the darkness, laughing at you because you're
Waiting
walking
for you to
around with a
leave.
thing, and they're like, ha ha. They're like, yeah, we're not coming out to speak to you, buddy. You're just being a complete butthead.
Yeah.
Like if you go in there drunk, belligerent, yelling at other investigators, being mean to spirit itself, you're
Mhm.
not gonna catch stuff.
On the other hand, you're gonna have something horrible happen to you when you're not expected, right? If you're a butthead too, so it can go both ways.
Yeah, you could do that, or you could legit have something happen to you that is paranormal,
Hmm.
like going and pooping your pants in a haunted location. I'm just saying. And
Yeah.
I wasn't even being mean that day.
No.
I just happened to come across, and
Mm.
I think a lot of people, like what Amanda said, sometimes when people talk about ghosts, everything is demonic, and I
Yeah.
honestly have to say I've probably only dealt with maybe two, or the whole time, in like 40 something years, since 7
Mhm.
up to 49.
Mhm.
I've only probably ran across maybe 3 demonic entities that I know of. The
Mhm.
one in the um comedy club, the one in my old house, because that one was kind of weird. It was like almost, it was there was demonic entity there, but there was also good entities. Because when I went up in the attic, it was literally like I felt like my arms were outstretched, and I had like good pulling on this arm and nasty pulling on this arm, and
Mhm.
they're just kind of
So
like,
yeah, the good and evil, right?
I'll come this way. I'm like, no, no, I'm good.
Yeah. Has there anything been bad back there since then?
Go see. There's that staticky stuff again.
Has anything bad happened back there since then?
Understand what she said?
No.
Okay. I was just checking with you.
No, I'm
Say it
just
again,
checking.
Irene.
Is there anything bad that happened since then? Since we cleaned it?
You have the robotic voice going on right now.
Okay, just let me. That little girl who you're talking about, she's coming in the view. Of that little girl who drowned, she's here. That's why.
Oh, I gotta say something about.
It seems like it's starting to get a little bit better. Because I could hear Amanda say, "Oh." but it was still kind
No,
of
I'm waiting for her to finish it. Then I guess I've been wanting to say something to you since you agreed to be on the show.
there. It goes. Now I can hear you clearly.
Okay, go ahead, Irene.
Has there anything bad happened to you since we cleaned that house?
No.
Trying to think. Well, beside not there, no. Besides the whole little boy trying to lock me in the closet here, which is in a totally different location.
Yeah, because
No, not so much at that house. I'm not saying that there's all the spirit energy is gone because that
no,
house is like weird.
I know it's still weird because you see the bodies are still in the ground in that area. That's why you have the slave girl, you have the little boy, you have the little girl, and then you have the mother who's also buried across the street, right
Yeah, in that barn, which is
underneath the
really
barn,
weird.
red barn, right? So
Yup, that old red barn, which is really weird because
it's yeah, it's creepy. On that right side of the barn, remember I told you? No, maybe the left side. The left side of the barn. I said, she's underneath there, right? I said, and you said I can't get a shovel. I can't. Yeah, but those
and
bricks.
the the weird thing about that barn, I remember standing in my driveway one day and I'm looking across and she must have went to sleep and forgot to shut the barn doors, but it was like full length person because I can see where the eyes were at and I could see it staring out from the barn, whatever
Mhm.
it was, across the street, and I'm staring in my driveway, and it really creeped me out because I couldn't see nothing but eyes looking
Yeah,
out of pure like darkness out of that
would that
barn. And
be
there's an
him?
old milk house hill thingy that is original to that property,
Was
which
it
is across the street because
be
it
that
was
guy that I
before it
kicked?
all got situated.
Would that be that guy that I kicked out of the house? Remember, I kicked him out. Remember?
Oh yeah, David, it could have been, but
I think him
that was
because
before. I think that was before we kicked him out. But that don't mean that he couldn't have been over there in that barn being nosy.
yeah, because he had that was his whole area, right?
Yeah, it was like a 600-acre working farm at one point
Yeah,
in time before they
before I
subdivided it.
up and made separate properties out of it. Remember?
Yep.
Because the barn was right here, your house is right here, and the garden was right here, and you had two trees standing, one on the left side, one on the right side, but you only have one tree left. Remember, the other tree was
Yeah.
gone.
In the backyard, there's like a group of like 3 or 4 trees, but I remember you and Daryl. There's only 2 trees between. Like there's a tree here on the left, tree on the right, and then in between them trees is where the strawberries were right behind our house.
Yeah,
And it was weird because she goes, "Hey, that's where she's buried at." And oh, okay, it didn't have a lot of sun, but I got like one strawberry off of that, and like nothing ever again. I mean, the
because
the
she didn't
strawberry
like
plants would grow
I
out
told you
further, but
strawberries.
I never get no more strawberries
Oh,
off of it.
she didn't like strawberries. I told you that. She
But
didn't like
that's
strawberries. She wanted wildflowers. She wanted to plant wildflowers on that property. But remember, her two brothers are buried in that same area. So you got the two boys, Jesse, the two boys, and they're buried there. And underneath your master bedroom, that's where Sadie is buried.
oh, that's lovely because that's right where we seen Jesse was the master bedroom because that was the one that had the
Yeah,
our bathroom was off our bedroom
yeah,
and our bathroom light, even though we've changed the bulbs before you
hmm,
helped us with that, we've changed
yeah,
bulbs several times thinking, okay, maybe it's the bulb. We had an electrician come through because we had one problem with an electric outlet, but we had him replace all electric outlets in the house.
hmm,
Um, is a family friend. It's a family members of Angie's friend. He's a
hmm.
licensed electrician. He came through, did all that, and the light in the bathroom off of the master bedroom would still real low. It just like and then it'd get real bright, like brighter than the light bulb should have gotten. It
Yeah.
was really weird because I was like, why is this bulb like basically almost blinding you because it's getting so bright?
Mm. Those
And
two boys.
Brandon's room too.
Those were the two boys who were hiding out in the bathroom.
And I remember because I said Angie got touched there, and then I was never able to see the mom until one day, and I asked Irene. I was that old lady the mom? And I remember you said yeah, because it was a little old lady in the hallway between where the boys is.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon's bedroom's here, Austin's is here, and there's a
Yep.
hallway doorway, but it don't
Yep.
have a door. There's like a walkway, like an archway, like a doorway.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there smoking a cigarette. I don't smoke cigarettes no more, but I was smoking a cigarette, drinking coffee, waiting to get ready to go to work. And out of the corner of my left eye, and I'm sitting on a love seat, I see a lady in all white. And I told Irene, I goes, I just seen this old lady in all white. And I
Yep.
messaged Angie because she was at work. I was like, babe, I think I'm tripping or something. It was because I just seen this old lady and she's just standing right in the doorway
Mm-hmm.
of the hall there, like looking at me, like basically like, hey, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember telling Irene that, and she's like, yeah, you just seen Lizzie.
Lizzie's mother. Oh,
Lady.
Lizzie. Yeah, Lizzie is her name. Right. Lizzie.
Yeah,
Lizzie.
because Jessie was the daughter and
Yeah. Yeah.
Lizzie was the mom. And I remember you said you just seen Lizzie. Because I
Mm-hmm.
was like, and she was there like maybe 3 seconds and gone.
Yeah. Because Lizzie, remember, she was hit on the head, back of her head, with a shovel. Like, bang. That's what he did to her. Like, yeah, that was like full blown. That's like a huge murder scene.
Yeah, it's a lot better now. Oh, but I remember because I was legit crying when
Mm-hmm.
we were crossing over the mom and Jesse. I started
Mm-hmm.
crying when we started crossing over Jesse, and then you're like, okay, your arms are gonna get heavier because we're gonna cross over the mom. And I had
Mm-hmm.
my arms out, and it legit felt like I was trying to lift about 100 pounds of weight. Like my
It was
arms, I'm
like
like,
you're
oh
just
geez, oh
and
Pete. I'm like, this one's a lot heavier.
yeah, yeah.
And like she didn't want to go at first
No,
because I remember you were saying she was being a stubborn one. You
yeah.
know, she was like, I don't want to go.
But you know that she said she didn't want to go until I blessed outside. And I said, okay, hold on. I said, we got to go outside. So we were going in and out, in and out, in and out. That was a 6 hour job. Remember that?
Yeah, that was a long day.
Yeah. I remember Angie. She had she passed out on the couch. If you remember that, right afterwards. She
Yeah, I
had
think I took a good nap too.
yeah, she had a paranormal hangover.
That's like our old house that the one I was talking about up in the attic
Mm-hmm.
that had the in the peak of the roof the in my pictures the white
Mm-hmm.
face in the woodwork.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was really weird because that's another spot where my gifts worked
Yep.
perfectly. No equipment, only my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And Angel's like, if you're into that, why don't you go upstairs and check out? I told her she was full of BS. She was like, hey, there's something upstairs. I'm like, oh, it's just a critter. So I legit stayed up and grabbed the broom, hit the ceiling, our
Yeah.
bedroom, and a critter would go away probably within like or at least stay away for 10 minutes or something, if you scare it away. No, this thing 30 seconds later scratch it sounded like it's trying to dig through the ceiling, like
Mm-hmm.
scratching at it and moving stuff around up there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what the heck is that? So and then my brother-in-law at the time, he's passed away now, but my brother-in-law at the time, we were fixing the living room.
Mm-hmm.
Someone put a board up there and we didn't know why because there was access in the back part of the house to the attic,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where the light was. There was only one light way in the back of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets up there, he says, you got a flashlight? Shine it up there. He goes, do you know all your rafters are burnt? I'm like, no, I've never been in my attic. So I get up there, and like I said, toward the back of the house is where the exit is, the access. You got to pull yourself up. I pull myself up there. I see there's a light. I don't see a pull switch. So I turn the light bulb, and it comes on. I'm like, oh, okay. Start walking toward the front of the house on Plymouth Street, and there's like two half walls. And I notice the further I get toward the front of the house, I'm getting colder.
Mm-hmm.
Like cold chill hit me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get to the front of the house, and I legit hear 3 times something say, "Hey, hey, you over here, over here." And it wouldn't leave me alone, so I had my phone, so I spun because I could tell it was coming toward my rear right. That's where the voice was coming from. And you see like the peak of the roof. It's in the peak of the roof. You can see the rafter there.
Mm-hmm.
In the left hand side of the picture, you see the dude with the white face. In the right hand side, you see like a perfect, like rectangular shape, like a doorway or portal
Mm-hmm.
in the roof, which there shouldn't be a door in your roof.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, this is weird, you know? And I went up there and got my digital voice recorder, went up there, and all of a sudden I hear, so I'm asking questions, and I get a recording that day, and I'm like, hey, who are you? Blah, blah, blah. What do you
Mm-hmm.
want? This and that. And I hear a female voice say, Constance. So some lady named Constance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I hear, because I was like, you were talking about Angie sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's a blue Christmas ornament on some of my pictures too, and you'll see like blown insulation. It
Mm-hmm.
could be what they call paradiola, but it was creepy. If it was paradiola, it was creepy
Mhm.
because in the blown insulation, you could see a demonic face with its tongue going like that, sticking his tongue out like
Ooh.
Gene Simmons, and I'm like, what the heck? And so I'm listening with my earbuds and stuff, and I asked him like, "Hey, can I grab this ball? I want to play a little game with you and see if you can make this ball move." And I hear, "No, get out!"
Oh
And
shit.
like 3 times in like that creepy, raspy voice. It's like, "Get out!" I'm like, oh, okay." So that was the second day. The first day was when I got the lady's voice. The
Mm-hmm.
second day, I'm told, "Get out," and I literally come downstairs after going up there, and I slept for like a good 3.5 hours
Mm-hmm.
after I come down from there.
Yeah.
But I was a dumb butt, and I said, "Hey, you can use my energy to move this
Yeah.
ball." And I went to a buddy of mine who works at Menards with my sister. His name is James Stovall, but he's a shaman, so he practiced, shaman rituals and this and that. And I play it for him, and he looks at me, he goes, excuse my French, but he goes, "What the hell is wrong with you?" He goes, "You never tell them to use your energy."
Yeah.
Because as soon as I say you can use my energy to move this ball, I heard a like a high pitch electrical surge sound. And I come downstairs, my ceiling fan light was on. I come downstairs, I'm like, oh, lights off, fan's off. I said, okay, Angie must have turned it off. And then I start listening to that recording, and I hear that pew. And I go over there, and I'm like, something's telling me, dude, go look at your light switch. 'Cause I had like a dual switch.
Mm-hmm.
The left one was for the hallway, which
Mm-hmm.
still worked. The right side was on. It was
Mm-hmm.
for the ceiling fan, but the ceiling fan dead and the light. So whatever I did up there must have pissed off what was ever up there because it killed my fan
Mm-hmm.
and my light. So I don't know. I mean,
I
it's not like I
remember.
purposely meant to
I
make it
remember
mad.
that you had to. You had to get help too to get rid of whatever it was too that was on you. Also.
Well, I never really did. Not from that house as far. I mean, I never really got help we like moved out shortly after that. Plus the roof is just weird because the roof started caving in the dining room like
Oh,
shortly after I did that.
ooh, that's nasty.
Uh, Amanda, you said you had a question for me?
It's more of so I posted in paranormal groups looking for haunted locations or urban legends to post about on my fellow Spooky Tales TikTok, and you recommended Minnie Quay.
Minnie Quay, yeah.
Yeah. So I actually did TikTok on her afterwards, but I didn't want to post it on Facebook because as I was doing it, and it took me a while to post after, and that's because she visited my apartment.
Oh, dang.
She was in my apartment to the point where I actually had to close. I'm not sure. I didn't want to post it because I'm like, I'm not sure who else could she visit. I'm not sure if she could visit anyone else because I have the bay right outside my window. So I'm not sure if that also correlates because of how she died. So I'm like, just in case, I'm going to shut all my windows so I can't look outside, just in case. And I was like, yeah, that's crazy. She was in my apartment though, and I was trying to do the TikTok afterwards. Took me like the longest time to press upload it because she was pretty noisy too.
She was from Forrester.
Forrester, Michigan. That's weird. Forrester,
Yep.
Michigan. I'm here in Japan, so I was just like, you really traveled. But I don't know if she can just do it for like anyone's house, or it's because I also have literally the bay outside my window.
Oh, wow.
Well,
That's got
actually,
to be beautiful looking, though.
the water creates energy, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, so anyone who doesn't know her story is back in the, I want to say late 1800s. She was a 15-year-old girl in Forester, Michigan, as she said. I couldn't remember where she's from. I knew somewhere in northern Michigan. She was in love with a sailor who was on a merchant ship who'd be in and out of the port there, either delivering either delivering goods or picking up goods. I'm not quite sure which one. He was just on a merchant ship. Her parents did not like her with this guy that she fell in love with on there because he was rumored to have a girlfriend in every port. He was, that kind of guy who had literally had a lover each port. So
Mm,
they're like, we don't want you involved with someone like that. You need to move on. You need to find someone better. Because she wanted to sneak out and see him the last day that he was in port. She didn't get to because they locked her in her room or one of the rooms in the house. And he took off the next day, and then he died in a storm in the lake. So he died. She got the news and she was devastated. So one night her parents went out. She was supposed to babysit her younger siblings, but instead she walked down from her house down to the pier, and people even saw her and waved, and people, the town people. And she walked down to the pier, she walked down into the lake. She kept walking until she drowned herself.
mm,
And they said to this day, there is a rumor that she tries to lure young girls into the water and they
mm.
drown. And there's been stories of people who lost their friends because they would see her out there and they'd be like, "Oh, she's calling to us. She's calling to us." So then when, if you go out there, you end up drowning.
I
You don't.
think there's a restaurant, like, I want to say in Forrester, it's like kitty corner from their property, that's haunted too. It's like supposed to be like kitty corner from where Minnie Quay's property was at. 'Cause I was looking it up on the internet and I was like, oh, I was like, I've never been to Forrester yet, but that's one of the ones that's on my bucket list. But I
Mm,
do know, I
Supposedly
think
her,
that's one of the most famous hauntings that Michigan has.
supposedly her grave is also haunted. They shown her grave. Supposedly, you also sometimes see her walk around her grave too, or hear her.
Amanda,
Hey,
take you with her too.
Yeah,
when she
that's why I
gets
closed
you.
up all the windows because I'm like, no one's lured me into this water.
Yeah, because you live near water. That's why.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, I'm just gonna close all my windows so I can't see outside.
Yeah, because she came to get you. I can guarantee that.
Yeah, it's because she doesn't want to be. I guess it's because she doesn't want to be alone.
And plus, you live near water, and anybody who lives near water, who knows about her and who even talks about her, should come out because her spirit is not settled yet. She,
That's why it's still to this day, young women say that they see her
yeah,
calling out to them from the water.
yeah, which is really creepy thing. You're lucky.
She was loud, and I'm like, I'm just gonna close up all my windows just in case, because
Yeah.
I just did not. I'm like, I don't feel safe. I'm just gonna go ahead and close up all the windows. I can't see outside.
Mm.
I think
Yep.
that's what a lot of the reasons why I got that activity the first time at the old mill or at the old mill in Dundee, Michigan. Like
Mhm.
I'm saying, we're legit twins. Like this is the shirt that we have on today. It
Mhm.
says Old Mill Parafest on it.
Mhm.
I'm trying to get it to where you can actually see it. Old Mill Parafest with like this part, and it's from Dundee,
Mhm.
Michigan. But there's a dam there, and there's water that runs over the dam part. You know, like a little waterfall type thingy, and it was an old grist mill back in the day. So they'd make like grains and flours, and they probably had a paddle wheel, I'm assuming, at one point in time by the mill to create some type of electrical power or
Mm.
something.
Mhm.
And like you're saying, running water and stuff right there. But
Mhm.
it's a conduit for spirit energy.
Exactly. Exactly.
What is your most weirdest experience?
The comedy club.
Okay.
You really had to ask that.
Well, I didn't know if you thought one. Well, I didn't know if she thought one would be more weirder than what I thought. Like,
Oh,
I
Auntie,
really
what was your most scariest place?
huh?
Angie, what was your most scariest place?
the comedy club.
The most
I
frightening
will
place?
not go back in there. I don't even I don't even step on that side of the street when we go.
Send
She
Bridget.
she refuses to step foot back in that building,
Oh darn! I
even though
remember.
it's even though it's demonic. I still want to go back, but
See, you're on your own.
I not by myself. I want to take a couple friends. That way, I don't have to be the fastest, but I got to make sure I'm not the slowest. I figure if I bring about 5 friends and I can outrun at least 2 of them, then I might be okay.
I remember the hotel that you went to. Remember, we talked about it afterwards. That was really freaky too.
Which one?
The one that had the little boy that was killed in one of the rooms.
Which hotel that was?
I can't. Great.
I'm trying to think of which hotel that was because we've been to the Crescent.
Nope, not that one.
The
Oh
Mason?
no, nope. I don't think he was killed in the room. I think he fell down the steps.
No, not that one. The one that he was
National
killed in
House
the
Inn.
bathtub on the right hand side.
Oh, I was thinking you were talking about the National House Inn where the boy fell down the steps
No,
over
the
in
other one.
Marshall.
The other one, yeah.
Because that's the only ones I could think of.
It was
Sure.
a really old bathtub. Remember, it had feet on the bathtub. Remember?
Oh, are you talking about? You're not talking about the like. It had a claw tub in it.
Yeah,
Was it the Perry Shook
it must have been.
over in Saginaw? That was the one that had the Prohibition tunnels underneath it.
Yeah.
Okay, yep, that's the Perry Shook. That was
Because
where that was the also the one that I have a picture of that has the little girl that's in that mirror, like
yeah,
the white silhouette. That's
yeah,
the Perry Shook.
because I
Where it
remember.
had a lady called I think Monique on
Yeah,
the Haunting on Hamilton.
wasn't she one of the call girls that used to
Yeah,
work
yeah,
in
yeah.
in the
She was a
in the
call girl.
saloon? In the
She was a
saloon?
call girl, or what they call a lady of the night.
Yeah.
And on the video, they made contact through like a regular AM/FM radio. They
Mm-hmm.
heard the radio on. They
Mm-hmm.
go up there and they're talking, and there was a blue dress that would float around this hotel,
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
and it ended up in different rooms.
Yeah.
And we stayed in this one room. It's called the Lincoln Room because there's pictures of Abraham Lincoln. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember there's the mirror, and
Mm-hmm.
then if you look in the mirror and you blow up my picture, you see there's a lazy boy chair, and
Mm-hmm.
that white silhouette of that uh girl
Mm-hmm.
was in that mirror, but she's sitting on or standing right by the lazy boy chair holding on to something.
Yeah.
She's got her arms like outstretched holding
Yeah.
on to something. I thought you were when you said little boy died because there's
No,
one
it's,
in
there
Marshall,
was a
Mich-.
little boy. There was a little boy who also died. A lady got pregnant, right?
Mhm.
It wasn't unplanned, right? She was she had what what they do right upstairs. She got pregnant, and one of the guys who worked for the hotel drowned him, like killed him in the bathtub. And the lady that Monique had a little girl, right?
Mhm.
And there was another lady that was supposed to take care of the little girl. Remember?
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
Yeah, that lady who took care of the little girl. I think she killed the little girl.
Maybe that little girl that's in my picture is Monique's daughter.
Yeah, because she wasn't very good at looking after the kids. Okay, she was busy doing her own stupid thing. Like she was into her own thing, and like she was a little bit older. She wasn't really into looking after anybody's kid. Okay, because she had her own. She was into her own stuff. I think she was almost a teenager or so, and she died by an accident. No, okay, it's telling me no, she killed her. I'm hearing no, she killed her. How did she kill her? She strangled her. Okay, she went like this to her. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
Which is
Mm-hmm.
weird because in that corner of that room with that mirror
Mm-hmm.
that's on her dresser, well, on that corner, every night our digital EMF meter would be spiked in that corner, just boom. But in the morning time, it'd be perfectly green and like mellow. And
You know what?
Mike's
I think
apartment was on the
that's
other side, right? The actual owner, his apartment was on the other side. So I told people, I goes, well, if there's a microwave on the other side, it would set it off. But that don't explain why it wouldn't go off in the morning time. So I told people, I was like, dude, I was like, Mike's in the 60s. He's an older feller, probably
mm,
closer to 70. I goes, I don't see him moving a microwave every night just to mess with us. Like, hey, let's see how this affects their EMF meter. So I think there was something legit in that corner every night watching us.
she killed her in that corner. So every night on that particular night, it it has the residual energy of her of her dying on that particular time.
Oh, okay, that's probably why we seen her in the picture because
Mm-hmm.
Daryl would on a lot of our pictures you see like circles where it's outlined because Daryl he's also part of our moderators, but he haven't been doing stuff lately because I said he's doing the music stuff. But he would screenshot stuff for us
Mm-hmm.
and send it back to us. And he'd be like, "Hey, do you see what you just caught?" I'm like, "No, I might be busy doing something." And so he caught some amazing stuff for us that he's like screenshot and send back. And the little silhouette girl was one of them in that room.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, look in that mirror. Tell me what you see. And I blow it up. I'm like, dude, I was like, that's a little girl. He goes, yep. And then the one, it might be on my other phone. We're at that Montague Inn with a girl that drowned in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And we're on the third floor. And I had the cat ball down. I was putting the cat ball down. And he goes, dude, there's somebody out there by that window. I told Daryl, I was like, basically, I was like, no, you're full of BS. There ain't nobody out there. I goes, that's a fire escape. And it's like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. There shouldn't be nobody out there. But the window panes were as big as like a person, right? Big giant glass window panes. He goes, no. He goes, there's somebody in that window. I can see him. So he screenshot, took a picture, screenshot, sent it to me. I
Mm-hmm.
blew it up. And sure enough, there's a dude with like a 3-piece suit on and a chick in the other window pane with a dress right off the fire escape, like chilling there. I'm like, oh my God, Daryl. So I started calling him Hawkeyes because he wears glasses, right? Like me. So I pick on him at times. I'm like, even though there's something wrong with your eyeballs, I goes, dude, you got some amazing eyes because he
Yeah.
picks up on stuff. So
Didn't you show me that picture too?
I think I did. And then the one with the lady Daryl caught too in the Doherty Hotel in Clare. It's kitty
Mm-hmm.
corner from Cops and Donuts.
Yeah.
It's the big hotel, and me and Angie was the only one in that hallway on the third floor. And if you look
Oh,
at
I
that,
remember that hotel.
that window overlooks the Isabella Bank,
Yeah.
which that whole hotel was like Purple Gang affiliated, or AKA Sugar
Yeah.
Hill Gang mobsters back in the day.
Yeah.
And I think the actual Dohertys knew about it, and the Dohertys who owned the hotel were giving them permission to run their dirty, dirty money out of
Yeah.
that place
Didn't they
because they had a
bootleg
tunnel that would
also?
go to the
They're
bank.
they're bootlegging booze too. I remember that too.
Yeah, the bootlegging booze because the Purple Gang told Al Capone they wanted to run the Detroit River. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got a video of the Purple Gang video, and
Yeah.
they told Al Capone, they're like, no, buddy, they go, if you run the Detroit, if you want anything to do with the Detroit River, it goes through us.
Mm.
And up in Clare, along 127,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Amanda knows about 127, the highway here in Michigan.
Yeah.
127 north runs north and south. Well, in Clare, they have, and tells it on the video. In Clare, they have these oil pumps that up by Mount Pleasant and all that, where they have Soaring Eagle Casino. It's like I forget what type of natives they are, but it's a native-owned casino, and right around that area they have a lot of oil pumps, the big heads that pump up and down. And it says in that video that in Clare, the oil was founded, and that the oil companies couldn't afford to keep pumping and drilling for all this oil, so they used the Purple Gang's dirty money to fund for their oil drilling. So that's how the oil got to be there in Clare, Michigan. Oh, and that was on the documentary video we got. I
Mm.
found that pretty interesting because I was like, oh, well, I was like, look, these oil companies were using dirty, dirty money back in the day to fund their
You
well
know,
drilling for their oil.
if you go up there, okay, the Purple Gang did a lot of like, you don't want to be found kind of people. I There is bodies around that area.
Yeah, they shot a dude in the bar, Isaiah Lebov. He
Mm-hmm.
was a part of the Purple Gang. They
Mm-hmm.
shot him in the tap house or the pub bar, whatever you want to call it, of the Doherty Hotel. That place is actually up for sale. That's one of the haunted locations that I say I know some haunted locations because Dean Doherty is the owner, and I seen him behind his desk, and I goes, Dean, because I seen on the internet that your hotel's for sale, and he goes, yep, it sure is. And we're sitting there talking, and he goes, but I just can't sell it to nobody. Or he goes, I just can't sell it to just randomly anybody. He goes, I gotta feel them out. I gotta make sure I'm selling it to the right person because
You buying it?
you don't want to see your dream that you worked for get go under, the belly flop or anything like that. But it's probably for sale for 1 point some million dollars. It's so huge. The old section, I think, is the most haunted,
Oh, you
and that's
buying?
where me and Angie stayed. So I would like to buy it, but I ain't got that type of money.
Mm.
Um, that one is for sale. The Perry Shook's for sale,
Mm-hmm.
about $325,000. That's
Mm.
the one with the little girl and Monique and the
Mm-hmm.
Prohibition tunnels and Saginaw there. And
Mm-hmm.
what's weird is the Prohibition tunnels. Yeah, they used to bootleg the alcohol, and the reason it's called the Shook is Mr. Shook used to be the sheriff of Saginaw, so he
Mm-hmm.
would bootleg this alcohol through these tunnels to the train tracks and the boats in the Saginaw River. You
Mm-hmm.
cross over the tracks, and there's the bank to the Saginaw River.
Mm.
And not only did they do that, he would harbor slaves. Because on my video, you hear like a old slave
Right.
groaner guy singing. So they'd hide these slaves. They were running from the south at the time. They'd hide them down there in the basement,
Yeah.
to get them to safety.
Didn't
So
they
yeah,
have
it's
the
great.
railroad tracks too that went underground too? That they were moving the slaves from one area to the other area in Michigan under the ground. Remember that?
Like, not right offhand. I know that they have like the underground railroad stuff,
Hmm.
Yeah.
but that was just like for slaves that were running.
Yeah.
But
I've I've seen it in Michigan because I knew someone who had it in their house and they showed me.
oh
And I
wow.
didn't know in Michigan that they had areas like that until someone showed me.
Hmm. Yeah, I do know that they would also, because it back in Saginaw, Mike Perry did on the video, he's saying how bad it was, almost as bad as the Wild West back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
because they had um lumberjacks that would come. They were like during Saginaw's lumbering era. Mike said it was as bad as the Wild West, but it wasn't put out there, and basically it wasn't announced like that or promoted that it was a bad place, that it was a nasty place in Saginaw. And these lumber barons or lumberjacks that were cutting the logs and stuff would go to the shook to get drinks. And the locals would see these lumberjacks coming with all this money, and they would roll them. They'd kill them for their money.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they would cart them out on the street after they killed them.
Mm-mm.
They'd take them underneath them prohibition tunnels, and they would cart them to the Saginaw River, because Mike Perry said on the video that they would chuck them into the Saginaw River. So
Mm-mm.
you wouldn't want an altercation going out on the street, but if you
Mm-mm.
could get them into the bar to drink and then take them down to the basement to where the prohibition tunnels are, then you could legit probably get away with, doing somebody in and carting them underneath them tunnels all the way to the Saginaw River. Because it
Mm-hmm.
legit went from the Perry Shook underneath the road, went past the across the street, so it's got to go past the old comedy club and then down basically like Ames Street, and then walk straight ahead. And if you keep walking, you're gonna jump or walk right into the Saginaw River there, which is the same location that third owner jumped into too.
Mm-hmm.
So that river itself, and that's also the same body of water. Well, connects to to Lake Linton, where I had that picture of the girl in the water.
Mm-hmm.
So that's telling me that that water is probably activity in that water of some sort of spirit activity.
Lots of activity.
And then the one place we go in Rockville, Indiana, they have the Indiana State Sanitarium there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like one street over. Our friend owns the what's called the old jail inn. It's a 1800 something Italianate style jail. That place is up for grabs too for 425,000.
Mm.
But we've caught stuff there in broad daylight, and I'll show Patty, the owner lady, our videos and stuff, and she's like, "What the heck?" We've caught stuff in daylight at the Arlington too in Hot Springs. I think it's cool when you can catch stuff in the daylight, and then you video it and you show people because a lot of people do their investigations at nighttime, but that doesn't necessarily mean that spirits aren't there during the day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
they don't care night or day. Like they have no.
Yeah, they're there night and day. It's just
Yeah,
some people have the theory that the reason why they're more active at night is it takes a lot less energy for them to do anything.
but for
oh,
me, it matter.
maybe because they can be heard easier because of all the hustle and bustle of everyday life is quieted down
Yeah, and
throughout
they
the
said like
night.
obviously if you turn off all the lights and you're in
Yeah,
the dark, obviously your other senses kick in. So that's why you can also pick it up more, which
yeah,
makes sense.
it makes sense. But to me, they don't care if it's night or day. You know, because I pick up anything night or day.
Yeah, but you're like a magnet.
Oh,
Because you're a magnet, so it doesn't matter.
speak for thy royal self.
Yeah, you they stick to you like your magnet sticks to your refrigerator. They just kind of like bloop, almost like a leech, they like just
Like
grab
that's
on.
yeah. I guess that's why I don't sleep at night.
I have an issue sleeping at night too, and that might be
Yeah,
why.
yeah, well, I don't sleep anymore because they're there 24/7, 7 days a week, right? Yeah. Um, what would be your place that you'd like to visit in the world?
Go ahead and answer it.
No, you answer.
Have a
You
seat.
could answer first, Angie, because you're being left out. You're still in it.
I don't know.
You don't know of one place that you'd like to go? Not a one single place?
I can't think right offhand. There's so many,
There is a lot.
so many of them.
Mine would probably be, I'll answer first. That would give her time to go ahead and think. Mine is going to be, and I plan on going.
Japan.
No, well, that too. But
You want to go to England too, also. I know
Yes.
that.
I do. I want to go to England, and I Googled the area. Like I said, it comes up green with a
Mm,
weird clearing and it looks like gray shaded area, like what might be buildings.
mm,
If there's not a lot of roads, like you can blow it up, but you don't see a lot of roads going into this forest. I'm not saying there's not paths or
no.
nothing, but there is a hotel located close by it. So I want to grab a tent and pitch a tent into the haunted Black Forest where my family was, you know, all basically hanging out around. And then I want to take that picture of the rocking chair, blow it up in a big picture frame, and walk around the forest with that picture and be like, "Hey, anybody know about this chair?" You know, be like,
See,
"Okay."
man, he's
That way I
just
can
as
see if I
crazy
get
as
any
we are.
type of. I'm trying to get any type of reaction to see if
Yeah.
I can, and then not only do I want to do that, but I want to go around the local shops and ask about, the Clark name, blow up my family crest,
Mm-hmm.
because supposedly we still have family over there that is like furniture makers. They're like woodworkers. So they were
Mm-hmm.
woodworkers and like witches. They did a lot of stuff with wood, but they were witches also. And I remember because it was really weird. I remember talking with Chris McKennell, which is
Uh-huh.
Lorraine Warren's grandson,
Uh-huh.
because there was a guy in Michigan Center, Michigan, and I used to work with his cousin at JD Norman in Leslie, Michigan.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, "Hey, I want you to come check out my house." And he's telling me what was going on. I'm like, "No, I'm not going over there." Because he said that he would shut off. It was his grandma's house across the street from him.
Uh-huh.
So he ended up with it. His house was across the street. His grandma's was over there, and he parked his semi over there and stuff, and had tools and stuff. And he said he had a toolbox that he'd pick all of his tools up, shut the drawers, go back there the next day, the drawers would be open and tools sprawled all over. And he said him and his son witnessed the Coleman, like the gas lanterns for
Uh-huh.
like camping, would be on a workbench, and it wouldn't just fall over. He said it come out about 3 foot and smash to the floor.
Oh.
So he's like, "Oh, can you come check that out?" And I was still a little wet behind the ears, and I'm like, "No." I'm like, "I ain't going out there." I goes, that creeps me out. I'm like, "Uh-uh." So I ended up working with his cousin, and he was talking to his cousin about it, and I was talking to his cousin, and he goes, "Oh, you're the one that was too scared to go and investigate my cousin's house." I'm like, "Yep." That was me. I was like,
But that's not you anymore.
no, I'm more into it now. I haven't really met a place yet that I was too scared to go into.
Well, I know you're waiting to come here. So when you come, Amanda and I will greet you. We'll take you go something.
Now the place that I mean over in Japan, the forest kind of creeps me out a little bit.
Nah, it's not that bad.
You know, because I've watched that movie called The Forest about Akigahara, and then when
Yeah,
you're
I've seen that.
walking through and you hear voices and stuff, I'm like, they're saying, don't listen to them.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
there's got to
there's
be a lot of negative energy there because so many people that were down and out, they just commit suicide there, and I don't know why. I don't know why they have such an infatuation with going there and committing suicide like they do.
because it's that portal, and plus when you're getting rid of pain, you don't want it's kind of like a religious thing. It's a Buddhist religion thing to get rid of the inner pain in this life. If you can't live in this life to get rid of the inner pain, you stop and you live in the next life. So it's not a Christian thing. It's a Buddhist thing. So if you're unhappy here in this life, you'll be better. You'll be happier in the next life.
You want more coffee? Hold this for a minute, because I gotta go to the little boy's room. You gotta
Okay.
go in. Well, why didn't you go? Well, here, you go first, and then I'll go after you. And then I'll give you the phone, and then they can ask you about where's your favorite place that you want to go.
The Whaley House.
Oh, well, don't tell me, tell them that. They didn't hear you. She just walked off and spilled the beans on where she wanted to go. Say it louder.
The Whaley House.
There you go. She said she wants to go to the Whaley House.
Willie House. Amanda, where's that?
That's what they're talking about in California
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
with that
it's
documentary.
San Jose or Sacramento or something like that.
That'd be
Yeah,
interesting.
I do know because my whole family's been in paranormal for like years.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle Larry, um, my mom's brother, but you'll see him, me and Angie in a picture. I'm all dapper, and he's sitting across the table. We're at a little diner thingy. Um, his girlfriend at the time used to own a hotel in California. I don't know what it was called, but my grandpa, my mom's dad, the one who our ancestors are from England, Chester. So my grandpa Chester was they used to call him Chet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my Uncle Larry and his girlfriend at the time, Victoria, had a bunch of cats. So he likes cats, but in moderation. There's too many cats for him. So he's like, I'm not staying here. He's like, I'm gonna. He's like, I'll sleep out in the car, whatever. They're like, well, why don't you go stay at the hotel? Because they owned a hotel with a couple units or what have you. And he goes, okay. Oh, he goes there and he's laying down with his blanket and stuff, and the bathroom door is open, and he just got this weird feeling. He walked by the bathroom door, and the medicine cabinet, how they have the mirrors,
Mm-hmm.
is swung open, like looking outside of the bathroom. So he goes, goes, shuts the medicine cabinet, walks back by again, coming back this way. Medicine cabinet's open again. He shuts it, shuts the door, and then as soon as he goes to shut the door, because he had like a little sleeping bag and a
Mm-hmm.
flashlight, he said he went to go lay down, and he said something knocked over his flashlight, like it walked by it, knocked the flashlight over,
Mm-hmm.
and then you could hear, like, okay, so my grandpa goes and tells me, he goes, something grabbed a hold of the blanket,
Ooh.
grabbed it and shook the blanket,
Oh my
shook
God.
like the end of the blanket where his feet was, grabbed it, shook it, and then my grandpa said he stood up and said, stop it or I'll hit you with my flashlight. Now, this is the weird part because I've never heard of, maybe except for on a movie,
Mm-hmm.
This board hurt.
except for maybe on a movie, right? That would happen. But after he said, stop it or I'll hit you with my flashlight, my grandpa told us that a voice entered into his body, that it
Mm-hmm.
was not his voice, it was more high pitched. It was kind of like, stop it, I'll hit you with my flashlight. But it mocked him, he said. So I was like, I'm thinking, can they do that?
They
And
can
I'm
do whatever
assuming
they want. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I'm assuming Irene, you'd be the one that I'd be like, ah, they can do whatever the heck they feel like.
Can do whatever they want to, and to whoever they want to. Yep.
Well, he didn't stay there after that. He freaking packed up and left out of there. He's like, nope.
Not,
He's like, I'm out.
I'm, I'm not saying here bye.
But
Yep.
when you did say something about the a little boy, I at first was thinking that you were talking about the National House Inn, which is part
Mm-hmm.
of the Underground Railroad in Marshall, Michigan.
Yeah. I'm
And
getting
that
those
part,
up. Sorry about
that
that.
was pretty cool because there were journals there, and I've got on my digital voice recorder. Our first night there, we went to the Marshall Carriage Company for a
Mm-hmm.
carriage ride. Dennis used to do dinner shows at Cornwell's Turkeyville in Marshall,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm sure that Amanda probably knows about Marshall if you know
Yeah, I was
about
just like, I feel
Coldwater.
like I've been there. Well, I have been there.
Have you ever been to the National House?
I think I might have, yeah.
It's a big red brick building right by the fountain. It's like an
Yeah.
old bed and breakfast. It's the part of the Underground Railroad.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, it's like they got a paper there, and the guy's name is Adam Crosswhite. That was a slave who was running from Kentucky. And the whole town of Marshall chased the slave owner out of town.
Ooh, yeah.
So when we went there, and I'm telling Dennis and stuff, he goes, "Well, what are you doing here?" I said, "Oh, I heard this place is haunted, the National House, and I want to go there." He goes, "Well, you do know that we do a haunted carriage tour." Like I said, I'm still skeptical at times, so I'm like, "Okay, so you do a haunted carriage tour. What makes it haunted?" He goes, "Well, we go through a graveyard." I'm like, "Okay, so what makes it haunted?" And I'm showing him our orb pictures and different pictures. So he whips out his phone. He goes, "Oh yeah," and he starts showing me orbs, and I'm like, "Oh." I'm like, "Okay, now you got my attention."
Mm-hmm.
And then he was telling me and Angie about a story about when he goes to the big cemetery there in Marshall, that there's a big blue ball of light that will fly up and land in the front seat of the carriage, like the driver's seat, with him and his son, and sits right between there. And at first I was skeptical. I'm like, yeah, okay. And then he shows me a video, and I'm like, what the heck? And you legit see this big blue ball of light come up and boom, right in the seat next to him. I'm like, that is just weird. He goes, yeah, I know. So he told me there's journals in that National House Inn. So I'm like, okay. So 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I start sneaking around, ain't nobody up. And all the rooms that aren't booked, they have open. So there's a room called the Charles Dickey room. It's the most haunted room they have. It's supposedly haunted by old coachmen in that room and stuff like that.
Ooh.
So I go in there about 3 o'clock in the morning. I see there's journals there and already have my digital voice recorder running. Set it on the bed, kneel down on my knees next to the bed, start looking at this journal. I grab this journal. I goes, hey, there's a journal in here. And I start looking through it. And I play back the recording after I leave that room, and you hear about 34 seconds into it. After I say, hey, there's a journal in here, you hear a voice say, there is. Like there's a male voice that says there is, like it's confirming it. And I'm like, that was our first night there. And then about a minute and 12 seconds into the recording, you hear 4 footsteps. Plain as day, like click, 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 click. Only trouble is the floor is carpeted.
Mm.
The floor is carpeted now.
It was wooden floors, right?
That's why I was assuming it was wooden floors back in the day, because you can legit hear like someone's shoes walking across the floor.
Yeah.
And it used to be an old buggy shop and an old windmill shop.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be called the Page Brothers Buggy Shop in 1850. It was built in like 1835 by a guy named Colonel Andrew Mann.
Mm-hmm.
And we also got in the William Wallace Cook room.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the whole paratech thing I'm kind of leery about, but I legit sit there and had the EMF meter going off on a picture above the bed in the William Wallace Cook room. And I'm going around the bed, nothing, and I set it up on the pillows on the bed, and it starts just spiking.
Wow.
And so I start asking the question. Um, I'm like, Colonel Andrew Mann, is this you? And you hear a clear yes. And that was the dude that built it in 1835.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
like, wow. Hold that for a minute. That way they can ask you some questions. I'm gonna get up some coffee. I'm gonna grab some coffee.
You don't need to hold it. You had it
Okay.
on top of that.
Chat will make sure they can see your face.
They can see my face. Uh,
Okay,
There.
Amanda, your turn.
sound like
You were
robots
asking
again.
before, Irene, where would be a place? What would be your dream location that you can investigate?
I said,
Robot.
yeah, they were sounding like robots again.
Let me see. The energy's coming through.
There it
Every
goes.
time we talk about something really creepy haunted, the energy comes through. That's why we sound like robots again. Your
Is
light's
your
really
light
flick.
going out?
No.
Her light's flickering in the other room.
Yeah, I was like, you see that too, right?
Yeah. It's like it gets really bright and it gets really dark. Let's see. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, I feel like the Sprint or Verizon commercial. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where would be your dream location if you could investigate anywhere in the world?
I would probably have to say isn't it the Whaley House where they had the guns, the Smith and Wesson? I'm trying to think.
Uh,
No.
Winchester.
no,
Winchester.
Winchester House.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of mine too. Just because they said during the day you can still hear construction going on in certain places of the house.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really. I think it'd take more than one investigation to go through that house. You know that, because
Yeah.
there's so much of it, and there's so many rooms of it in there, and there's so many different things around there. And I think there's so much energy around there too. Hi, Wayne. Yeah, I think.
I mean, that's what I heard. There's still a lot of I guess, gun victims of the Smith and Wesson there too, or
Yeah.
the Winchester, or whatever it is.
I wonder if it's. I wonder if it's really that haunted. What would you think, Amanda?
Some people are
Yeah.
saying it is. I've seen videos of things out of nowhere will be moving chandeliers. All of a sudden, it's just be swaying. All of a sudden, it's not like you give a little sway, which is out of nowhere start swaying a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of people think it's still the gun victims,
Mm.
because that's what the previous owner believed it was the gun victims. Others say you can still hear construction being built from when it was always being built, so
Or you can be up
there's
and
still
down.
that residual energy going on there too.
Do you think she's in the house too?
I don't know about her. Some people think she is. Some people also believe her husband is still there in the
Mm.
Winchester house.
Yeah.
Brett, I
Coming
think
off
a lot of people believe.
only.
Light is
Coming off
No,
your
it
feeling
keeps
only.
getting
What do you
dark
think?
and then brightening back up.
Just come
well,
your feelings only.
What was that, Irene?
Coming off your
Right.
feelings only. What you feel inside. Do you think he's there, or do you think she's there too?
I don't think she's there. He might be there
Mm.
because felt. He still always. I guess he felt responsible for what I've heard from people. I don't know how true that is, obviously.
Mm. That'd be interesting. Probably you're right.
They're always finding other rooms in that place.
Yeah.
That's one of the Winchester house is one of those places that you'll always find new rooms, new hallways, new
Hmm.
doorways that lead nowhere. It's that place. It's
Yeah.
that place because the widow got paranoid, said she was being haunted by people who died
Hmm.
by the guns. So she always had things built. And she always had a lot of secret rooms. They said to this day,
Hmm.
they're still uncovering secret rooms.
I wonder the people who the men who are building the house. I wonder if some of their bodies. I wonder if some of them died on the property too, because they had a really hard task. And back then, nothing was really safe when they were building that house. Remember, like
Yeah, I say I'm trying to think
you
of when it
you
was
did it
built.
off ropes and pulleys, and then you you were doing it like a almost like a, a acrobatic act on the beams of the wood. So I'm wondering if some of them who building the house died while building it, or falling to the ground, or something.
I'm
Something,
sure there is because you still hear
yeah,
construction. I mean, what a horrible way you die and you go back to work every day.
yeah.
that's what happened to Michael at the Crescent. He ended up falling. He was working. The guy you was talking about with the most haunted room at that Crescent,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
he ended up falling to his death.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was working on the room or something
Hmm.
because he was an Irish and he was an Irish stonemason. So
Okay.
he was doing work, ended up falling.
Is that building very high, or is it a low
Yeah,
building?
like he was up high in the building and fell, and then he ended up passing away.
Mm, that's interesting. Yeah.
I think I heard that before. And then he haunts, I want to say 212.
Yeah.
212 or 220 or something like that.
Yeah.
But you can book that room ahead of time.
Yeah, but you can't just go down to Arkansas and just be like, "Hey, I think I'm gonna stay at the Crescent," because we tried that.
You have to
We
book
were just
ahead of
like,
time.
"Hey,
Yeah.
let's just call out of the blue and be like, hey, you got any rooms? Nope, we're all booked." I'm like, "Oh." So we had
I
to
can
book
see
like
that.
way, way ahead of time just to get. I think it's because it's so like well known and so haunted that people always just want to go there.
Mm. I think another cool place would be going with, with, I forgot the name of the hotel, the one that Stephen King, the Shining Hotel.
Oh, at the Crescent or not the Crescent? I'm sorry. The Stanley.
Yeah, Stanley Hotel. What do you
Yeah, up
think?
in Essex Park, Colorado.
Yeah.
That's one on my bucket list. Well,
You'll have to let me know how that one is. I've had people go and say it's not really haunted, so I'm curious from someone else.
yeah, I'm curious myself because, like I said, I'm pretty lucky. I would call it lucky to be able to go into a lot of places on the first time around and catch stuff. But I always tell people too that don't expect to catch stuff the first time around because I've been in some places first time around I don't catch nothing.
Mm.
That's what I'm saying is also with them is I don't know. Just because you went somewhere that's supposed to be haunted to get anything doesn't mean it's not haunted. Maybe you just had a bad night or they just didn't feel
Yeah.
like coming out and doing anything. It's there's no rhyme or reason when ghosts decide who or when or what to interact.
I'm also wondering how tired do they get? I mean, if you go into a place like the Crescent Hotel or the Stanley Hotel, some place, or even the Amityville Horror House, right? Someplace that's supposedly known, really haunted, and
Hmm.
like they do tours there, so or whatever, haunted investigations. So I'm really curious on how tired do these spirits or ghosts get of people asking them every night, questioning them every night.
From what I
You know,
heard from mediums, they said they're from these haunted locations. A lot of them do a lot like the residential spirits there are sick and tired of the ghost hunts at some of these places. They're just tired of the investigations. And I can totally see that where to them it's probably about the same thing every night walking in and people asking the same questions. It's probably the same thing to the point where there's just like, I can't be at peace.
Yeah. Imagine getting hounded by people who are visiting it, like paranormal investigators or whatever, or enthusiasts going to a place that well known haunted and asking questions till you're blue in the face, right? And imagine having that faced with you every single day. Wouldn't you be just like, yeah, whatever, coming out of that?
yeah, I'd
Unless,
probably be wore out and tired after a while.
Yeah.
yeah, unless you're really, I don't know how I'm gonna put this. Unless you're really different and not just your regular average paranormal investigator, right? Unless you're really in, stop it. Unless you're really into something that's quite different. Unless you do things a little bit differently, and you go in there with a different kind of attitude, you might get something That's what that's what Amanda and I were always talking about. When you go in a place like how would you go in there? What kind of attitude would you have? What kind of energy would you have inside when you go in a place, right? And how would you do it when you leave, right? So I think everything boils down to you as a human being, or as a person, or as an investigator, or as somebody who is passionate about what they're doing, and how they go in there, and how they conduct themselves in those rooms. And how would you like it if you were if you died? How would you like somebody to react to you, and how would you like be talked to as a spirit, right? So you have to kind of like change it, turn your tables, and make you see things differently. And that light is really bright on your face.
Oh, it's probably this light. I'm
Yeah,
assuming
it beams
probably
really light, and it beams
that
really,
light, and I'll turn this light on.
and it goes really bright and goes really dark.
See, okay, that might be better.
Nah, it has nothing to do with the light, Brett. It's
Now it's
just
not as bright. We don't
no,
have
it
that
has
bright light.
light. It's just that when we talk about certain spirits, it gets really bright, and when we
I
tone
have
it
a
down.
light like I have a light like right here. So I turned that light off,
mm,
and now I
but
don't have that big old bright
yeah,
shininess going
it
on.
bright and it gets really dark, and it gets bright and it gets really dark, depending on our conversation. So it's reacting to our conversation.
Willie Bully, can you open up some of them curtains? Um, I have a question. Maybe you can shed a little light on it. When we went down to Arkansas one time, we were looking for property and what have you,
Mhm,
and I went to go stay at a place at a hotel. It was called the Oil Hotel in what was that?
Blytheville.
Blytheville, yeah, Blytheville, Arkansas.
mhm,
So we pull in town, and okay, I guess I hate to say this word, but the hood or the ghetto. It was pretty much in the hood or the ghetto because every business had bars on the windows,
Oof.
right? And so I'm looking around I'm like, wow, I'm like, we didn't know where we were at, we didn't know how far distance between hotel to hotel there was. So we seen a thing called the Oil Hotel, OYO.
mhm,
So I seen, like I said, this Oil Hotel. And okay, we're staying here. I had my equipment in the trunk, and something was telling me, something was like, hey, take your equipment up there. So I take the equipment up there, I take the cat ball, and I'm like sitting there, and I wish you would get,
I don't know how much closer I gotta be comfortable.
oh, I'm so sorry. So I sit there and take my equipment up there, take a cat ball up there, and I'm watching the cat ball kind of turn on. It finally went off in the wee hours of the morning. So I'm asking, like, hello, who's there? What have you? Are you a boy? Are you a girl? It'll light up this, that. It lights up when I ask, are you a girl? And my first impression with all the bars on the windows is, hey, this is a bad area. So I like, were you murdered? Were you it? And it didn't light up, because I figured, well, it's pretty bad. Obviously, if you have to have bars on every business, then maybe the neighborhood is crime riddled or what have you.
mhm,
Lots of drug activity, crime activity, whatever.
mhm,
Prostitution. I don't know what the heck was going on.
mhm,
Oh, well, it didn't light up. So then I goes and asked, because it said it was a female, and because of the neighborhood, I goes, were you raped? And it lit up. I'm
mm,
like, oh, great. So I'm like,
Cat don't like.
were you hurt? It lit up. So I was like, why do I have to go into a place with a cat ball and now they want me to solve their unsolved mystery? You know, it was really, really weird. So I don't know. Can you shed any light on that, Irene? Maybe you can see or sense of
Yeah, she was
anything that's
in the room. She,
happening with that hotel. It's in Blytheville, Arkansas. It's called the Oyo, O-Y-O,
mhm.
Oyo Hotel. The whole
She-
neighborhood, like I said, it's got bars on the windows and
I get another one. I get another vision that somebody was shot too in that room also. So I'm getting two people. I'm getting a guy who was shot in the head, and I'm getting her who was raped and murdered. I don't think she was very old too either. She must have been in her teens. Like she must have been a teenager.
well, because when we went there, when we rolled into town, it was like early in the morning, wasn't it?
Like 11 something at night.
Oh, okay. It was like 11 at night, 11 midnight. So it was like late. And there were still people all hanging out outside their hotel rooms. And it just had a really weird vibe. Like if I would have went over there and been like, hey, man, I hate to say this, but hey, man, do you have any crack I can buy or something, I'm pretty sure I could have scored some. I'm not into that. I'm just saying it was like almost that type of vibe that I got. I was like,
Yeah,
wow, I said I think some of these people around here might be drug dealers or
yeah,
something. I don't know. It was
like
really odd.
yeah.
It had a whole weird odd vibe to that hotel. Like I knew there was a lot of criminal activity going around in that area, but I didn't know exactly what it was.
Mm-hmm. Her brother got shot and killed, and she got raped and murdered. That's what I'm getting. Now I got it. Now I got it. Now I got it. Her brother was shot and killed in the room, and he tried to protect his sister, and she got raped and murdered,
Oh wow.
and he got shot and killed in the head.
Yeah, because that whole like neighborhood was pretty much almost like run down. It's almost like a rundown neighborhood.
Was
Well,
she
you know,
suffocated
energy.
at one point, Irene? Or was she suffocated at one point, Irene? I'm getting suffocated.
Yeah, the energy of the whole place is just, yeah. You feel the negative energy all over. The vibe is just heavy, right?
Yeah, it really is. But I'm also getting suffocated, so maybe she was suffocated at one point.
Yeah.
Then again, I mean, during the whole act, I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
they'll hold her
Oh,
down.
I'm seeing two guys were doing. One guy was doing it, and the other guy was holding her arms down, and putting her like doing this,
Hmm.
putting his hand on her mouth, and holding her arms down, and creating the act.
Oh, that's horrible.
Mm-hmm. So there
I
you
just
go.
figured something odd happened there, and like I said, I don't know why or what was telling me to bring my equipment up because it was literally in the trunk of Angie's car.
Yeah.
All my equipment was. I don't know if it was her trying to tell me, "Hey, I think you need to bring your stuff up here," you know, and maybe poke around, get a little nosy, ask some questions.
Well, I think a lot of times they want you to tell the truth about what happened. Um, because probably it was swept under the rug. Um, Nobody wants to talk about it, right? Because she's just like another victim, another case, right? Another number. So, yeah, she wanted you to say, "Hey, this is what happened to me. I want you to know, and I want you to tell what happened to me."
Maybe that's what it was then. So maybe she was the one that I wouldn't say poked me in the side, but somehow
Kind of like nudged you.
fed it into my head like, hey, I
Yeah.
know you have equipment in that trunk of yours. Why don't you bring it up here? Because I looked right at Angie and I literally said, I think I need to bring the equipment up to the hotel room. I mean, I
Hmm.
could have left it locked up in the thing because it wasn't winter out. It was nice and it would have been safe and fine in there. I feel, but something I think was telling me that I needed to take up there and use some of the equipment to see what was going on.
She wanted to tell you what happened to her.
And it was really, really freaking weird. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, that's odd.
Mm. I
Maybe,
think I think if I can capture her, I think I want to cross her over if I can find her. If I can find her. That'd be hard to find her. She just came in and told me what happened to her. Like I'm seeing it right in front of my face. That's a hard part of being on this side of the story. You can see what's going on. You can't stop it. You can't help her. It's just like it's like right here in your face. You could see it right there.
almost with like with Jesse, you
Yeah,
might see what happens, but you're not back in that time frame, so
no,
you can't physically step into the room and stop them from doing what they're doing.
yeah. And these two boys were gang members, and they they wanted they wanted his brother to do something to be a part of it, or be a part of it, or something like that. And they said, if you don't do what I say, I'm gonna rape your sister. And then he said no. He said no. And so they raped and killed her, and they killed him afterwards. Or timeline in between the two timelines I'm seeing. It was a horrific thing. And they shot him in the head too, like right here.
Oh man.
Yeah. And they were really cold. They didn't care. They were like 16 or 17. These kids who did it, and it was like they wanted him to join the gang. He said, "I don't want to do it. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to." He said, "No." He was crying because just he had to watch his sister being raped, and they did it on purposely so the brother could see what's happening to the sister.
Oh, that's horrible.
Hmm. Yeah. And she was crying, and she said, "Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! No, no, no! Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this?" And yeah, no, okay, not gonna go there. Ugh. Now you get it.
Yeah, that's almost like what happened with Jesse and stuff, you know?
Hmm. Oh
Like
yeah.
no almost like they didn't really care or have any feelings of, you know, why
No,
am I doing this, you know?
he didn't care. He didn't care. His father didn't care either. That property was handed down to from his father to his son, right? And yeah, like they were horrific. It was horrific. Like you could believe what happened, right? When I told you they have an outdoor oven,
Oh yeah, yep.
you know what happened to that outdoor oven, right?
I think he probably put people in it.
Hmm. He cooked his children in the oven to try to get rid of evidence. I know he cooked the two sons in the oven outside. That oven was made to make bread and stuff like that because they used an outdoor oven. I don't think that property had a kitchen. I think everything was cooked outside in that big brick oven, right? It was round on top and it was flat on the bottom. I can I'm seeing that right now. And he took the twins to the river. He drowned them, put them in a burlap sack, threw them in the oven to try to get rid of evidence. He couldn't get it rid of fast enough. He put dug a hole next to Jesse, and he put him in the ground where Jesse is. So, ugh, I hate doing this job. It's not it's not one of my favorite.
I I like doing the job, but sometimes I do hate doing the job because, like I said, with that whole like the whole Oyo hotel in Blytheville, something telling me, hey, bring up my equipment, and then when you see your ball go off and you start asking questions, unless it's an unsolved mystery, it's almost like they want you to solve the mystery.
Yeah,
You
because
know,
every story, right?
even though
And
you might not want to, you might not want to solve the mystery.
yeah,
You're
it's
at
just
times there's time, and I hate to say this because it sounds rude, but at times there's times that I wish that I don't open my mouth and I don't ask questions
hmm
because then when I get the outcome, it like I said, I don't mean for it to sound rude or mean, but when I get the outcome, then it's like then I get that feeling like, man, why did I even ask?
you wish you never learned. You wish you never knew it, right?
Yeah, because then now I know, oh man, I'm laying in a hotel bed tonight with my wife in a room where a lady was possibly raped at,
hmm Yeah,
you know, which kind
it's
of sucks
yeah,
because then you got to go to bed thinking about that the rest of the night,
yeah.
you know.
Because you never asked me about that right till today.
Huh?
That was the only place that you asked me about till today, and that's the only place that I told you. Remember?
Yeah, I don't think I ever mentioned the oil before.
Nope, nope.
It just had a really odd, weird vibe to me. That whole town.
Yeah.
Like the town was run down. We were going to look at a property that we didn't know how close it was to the hotel. It was like literally one street over.
Ooh.
And the house was the property, one part looked all nice and oh, excuse me, looked all nice and mowed, right? But where the house was at, it was all overgrown with trees, and you could half of the wall was gone. A lot of the houses in that area were all beat up, even if people were living in them. They were under distress. Like the houses were like they looks like they needed to have someone come through, work on their houses, like
hmm
the whole area
I
and
bet
stuff.
it was
So
really old too, wasn't it? The houses were extremely old.
yeah, a lot of them were really old, like ranch styles, like single level, like way back in the day. It looked like they're old, like they may have needed to have some work done, but maybe the people couldn't afford to, work on the homes or something. But in every single business had the bars on the windows, and it was just weird. Just a whole odd vibe about that town.
Yeah, the whole you see when you get some kind of energy with that coming through, it affects the whole area, right? So you get this negative, I don't know, mix. Then it creates the air. It's like this, and you can even feel it in your hands, right? When you
Hmm.
get like it's just like something like oh my god, and it hits you like a ton of bricks.
Do you ever get to come back to the States, Amanda, to see your mother and father who are in
As
Michigan?
much as it costs, I'd rather not.
Ah,
It's just I would rather not. I don't really. I mean, I'm not even close to really anyone, so it's just like I'd rather just not.
oh,
My
okay. I didn't know if you had
road
got a
trip.
chance to come back to the States or not.
I'm good at taking a road trip.
Not to the States. I mean, there's other countries here I'd rather try and get off my bucket list before I visited back in America.
Yeah,
I I come and visit you.
I
Yeah,
think
but there's obviously yeah, when you're here, especially when you're on the very tip and
Yeah.
near like the Fukuoka airport,
hmm
we can just fly out or whatever. There's
I think
other
I'm in the
countries we'd
same boat.
rather yeah,
I
there's
think
other
I'm in the same
countries
boat
we'd
as
rather
Amanda.
try and see over here, like
Yeah.
Bora Bora's not too far.
you got
I heard
you
that place is
got Guam.
beautiful.
Yeah,
You
and it's supposed to be
got Guam.
cheaper, so
You got Guam. You got Okinawa. You got Thailand. You
yeah.
got Taiwan.
Taiwan, Korea, some people
Yeah,
went to.
yeah.
Yeah, I think me and Amanda are in the same boat. Like, there's a lot of places. Like, I mean, we started locally, and now we're starting to branch out more.
Hmm.
Not necessarily locally, but throughout the United States, we'll go to different states and find haunted places, bed and breakfast, different, even restaurants. That maybe we might not be able to investigate them. Some of the restaurants we have actually got to investigate. Like there's one in Detroit. It's called the Whitney, David
Mm.
Whitney. And Thomas Edison actually
Mm.
wired his house. He was friends with Thomas Edison.
Ooh.
So they still have the dual functioning lights that are gas and electric at his house. It's on Woodward Ave. It's a
Mm.
big, beautiful mansion,
Mm.
and they'll do a tour of it and stuff. And they got a bar. It's called the Spirit Bar, so it's rightfully named.
Hmm.
Um, and there's a mirror on the second floor that they say if you take a picture in the mirror and you look in the picture, you'll see a silhouette of a person, like a shadow,
Hmm.
a black shadow behind you,
Hmm.
like in the mirror. So I did I took a picture of that mirror and I blew it up and looked, and there's a table behind me, because the mirror's in front of me. I took a picture of the mirror and I blew it up, and I can see that there's a round table, there, and there's a dude like a silhouette standing at the table. And when I turned around and looked, there's nobody there at that table. And that was one of the workers that told me and Angie that. They're like, dude, if you take a picture of this mirror, you'll see a silhouette of somebody in the mirror. And at first, I was like, okay, whatever. I was like, you know what? What the heck? I'll try it. And
Yeah.
sure enough, there's like a shadow person showed
Hmm.
up in the pretty much like a black shadow. You can see the head, like the whole silhouette of it. And then when I blew it up and looked, I instantly turn around and look, and there's nobody at that table behind me. I'm like, what the heck? Oh, it was really,
Brett,
really interesting.
Brett, you know what? The old lady has come in and said hello.
Oh, tell her I said hi.
You tell her that. They're in your house.
Yeah, I know. I remember on our shelf that we have hanging in our other living room. We got like two living rooms, living room, family room, whatever you want to call it. But the one had a cat ball that I kept in a little plastic enclosed jar
Hmm.
to see if it would light it up. I actually seen that on a video that uh, Ghost of Britain
Yeah.
group was doing with Lindsay and Lee Steer. They're no longer together, but they both do the Ghosts of Britain, and they had the group called the Haunted World. Well, I seen them on Ghosts of Britain. They were in a pub, and they took a cat ball, put it on the counter of the pub, took a drinking glass, put it over top of it, and I was like, "That's brilliant." I was like, "That means that spirit would have to go underneath the counter through the wood to touch the ball or through the glass to touch the ball." And they were asked questions and it did. So in our other living room, I have a shelf and I had that plastic container that has, it's enclosed container, and I put the cat ball in it and it would just randomly light up like something was just going over touching it. And Angie's got a video of it going off, and you could hear her say, "Oh, you didn't even wait for me to ask you any questions, did you?"
She's making my right side of my eye hurt.
So I think it was the little old lady setting off the ball, or could have been the tiny little kid, the boy.
Yeah. I'm going to continue talking. I got to get rid of this.
Maybe you should have Asamu
He's
give you a
downstairs.
massage.
He's downstairs. He ain't going to do
He's
that.
like, nah, he ain't interested in that.
He's interested in haunted places, but he don't know what to do. Okay.
Well, usually if my wife asks me for a massage, I start massaging, and then like I'll massage her feet, and then she'll be like, "But that's not massaging because I'll be holding her foot." So I'm worthless when it comes to massages. That's why I was like, "Hey, why don't you have Asami go like massage your head, and maybe it'll get rid of that eye pain."
There is a place in Indiana I'm gonna recommend that you also check out. It's in Brookstone, Indiana. It's an old Masonic lodge.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just it's a newer place to investigate. The owners haven't had many people investigate it yet. I finally got a few people in there to investigate it, and they said it's some because originally just one guy on TikTok would go in there and investigate. He did a lot of locations like you, and he said this was the most active location he's ever been to. So then finally I got people I knew in there. They went in there and they said they had some of the most activity in there also.
that's funny that you mentioned a Masonic lodge. Because over in Owasso, Michigan, or around the Corona area, Owasso, I'm sure you know heard of Owasso before. So our son does the wrestling thing. A lot of you guys know that.
Mhm.
Um, there's a guy named J.R. Draper. He's called the Mighty Sabbath. So he's a wrestler and a promoter, and they've been putting on this show at this Masonic lodge. It's funny you said that because I'm looking at these big throne like chair thingies and I'm just like eyeballing these. And one of the members of the Masonic Lodge comes up to me and goes, "Hey, I noticed you're looking a lot at our chairs we got there." And I start talking about haunted stuff. I goes, "These are really interesting, creepy looking. Well, not creepy, but like old, like they might be have something attached to them because they're so old." And he goes, and he starts talking. And he goes, "There's a lot of our Masonic temple members that have seen a older guy come walking down the steps, get to the end of the steps, stand there, look around, and walk right back up the steps." And they were talking about, "Oh yeah, we'd love to have you come and investigate," but they sold it. Now there's new owners. So I'd have to get with the new owners and check with them to see if it'd be okay to investigate the lodge. But it's
Yeah,
the Masonic Lodge there in Owasso.
I'm always interested in what people get there because there is one spirit I am dying to know more about, and it's because there's several spirits there. There's a kid spirit that sometimes plays tag with you. There is a woman spirit there. Her name is Brittany. And then there's another woman spirit. She has a raspy voice. She claims to be a witch. There is a male spirit there that claims to be the devil. But then there's also another male spirit there who the owners nicknamed him the main guy because somehow they don't actually know who it is or have a name, but they think he has to with it being Masonic Lodge, he was probably a member because he seems to be the boss of every other spirit. And that's who
Mm,
I'm interested in because the reason why he seems to be everyone's boss is because he somehow has the authority to tell every spirit if he doesn't if you come in a spirit wants to talk to you but he doesn't feel like they should be, he will tell them don't talk to him and
mm,
they do it. He somehow has the power to tell people to tell all the other spirits who to talk to, when to talk to them, stuff like that. And I'm like, I have to know who this spirit is that has all this power over ever this spirit in this building.
mm,
What gives them all that power, though, is what
That's
I'm
what I'm
curious.
wondering because I'm just like, I've never heard of a spirit who can go in there and be like, "No, you can't talk to him." I'm like, I have to know who you are. And so far, no one's been able to answer me. I'm like, but I have to know. Why does he have this much authority? What happened to give him this authority? That's why they think maybe he was an old Masonic Lodge member. He can come
mm,
in there and have power. I'm like, yeah, but I don't understand how he has power over like the women spirits who clearly were never lodge members or the kid spirit. I'm like, how does he have authority over them? And that's what bothers me. And I'm like, I have to know who, what, and why, basically.
Mm.
Because I've never heard of it until this place, and I'm like, I want to know
Mm.
who
That,
and
right?
why you have so much
Yeah,
power,
I
man.
know. It was almost 3 hours.
Oh, what's the matter? Is your leg giving you problems?
Yeah, like always.
Oh, that's okay. I can help you out.
Mm,
Angie's leg was giving her problems because she has poor circulation in her legs.
Mm.
It's too long sitting.
So
It's
she has no problem with the blood flow going down to her feet. With her it's with her going back up, or with the blood going back up to her heart.
mm.
So they were talking about doing some type of, what type of surgery was
There
that?
is
Like,
a laser ablation because the insurance won't pay for the chemical ablation.
oh yeah, a laser ablation because the insurance won't pay for the chemical ablation.
Mm.
And she's gonna be going through that in 4 days, so
Oh dear.
hopefully everything goes good
Oh dear.
with that.
I hope she gets. I hope it's not the ones that are in the house that's doing that to her.
This has been an issue since the other house,
Mm.
the one where the boys live.
Yeah.
But she's never really got it taken care of. I mean, she's been going to doctors, but they, put you through physical therapy, elevate your legs. Hey, use these compression socks, stuff like that, and it really don't seem to help.
Well,
Or,
that's the doctors over here. I switched doctors.
well,
This
I know.
now that's the one that's getting stuff going.
I'm just saying it didn't help. All
Mm-mm,
that stuff didn't help.
no.
Because 90% of Angie's problems were that house that made her sick. And
Yeah,
I
because
know.
she was fine before we moved into that house, and then it was like instantly, like almost like that, just
Yeah.
that fast.
Yeah.
All of them health issues,
Yeah.
just going downhill and downstream.
Yeah. And it is that house that did that. You know that, right? So
Yeah, that house is weird.
I'm just worried about this house that's
I mean,
react to it.
I feel that it affected me some, but I don't feel it affected me as much as what it had affected her.
No.
You
Because
know.
remember the morning that we were gonna cleanse the house, remember? Angie got really sick. She did a roughy job, remember outside?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's when I think she puked.
Yeah. But you said it was black,
Yeah, it was nasty black looking stuff.
and that doesn't happen. Because they knew we were coming. Because Angie didn't know half the stuff that had went on in that house. That's why.
No, because at first she told me don't tell her until it's time. I I think it was so it didn't frighten her as much.
Mm,
I mean,
because
I still feel there's stuff there, but I don't feel it's nowhere near like what it used to be.
I know.
You know,
Yeah.
I
But
I think there's still always going to be spirit energy there until
yeah,
I mean
I know.
I'm not going to be the one to just be digging up because you know how I mentioned being a crack pot or looking like a crack pot
Mm-hmm.
earlier. If
Yeah.
I start digging out in my yard and one of the neighbors like, "Hey, why are you digging such a big hole? Why are you digging so deep?" Oh, well, my friend from Japan told me these people were buried in my backyard. So they're like, "Oh, okay. What kind of drugs is this guy on?"
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, try and explain that one.
Yeah.
How do people in Japan know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, how the heck do people way over in Japan know? Like, well, I could tell you, but then I look even more like a crackpot. Oh, so that's why I told Irene. I was like, I am not. I literally told her I was like, I am not digging in my backyard. I'm like, I goes, I will put a vase with some flowers there. I'll put a little sign, here lies Jesse. I'm sorry for what happened, blah blah blah. I wish you all the best. You know, but I am not digging in my backyard.
Remember, you said you were gonna buy a headstone. Remember, and you said you were gonna dig it up and put it, bury it in a proper cemetery.
I mean, what would happen if I did dig it up and then I find bones? Now I got to deal with the cops. And the cops are coming and they're like, now I have like 20 questions being asked. So it's like, oh, well, did you kill the little girl? Her body's on your property. I'm like, yeah, I know. Don't mention it. I don't want it to be on my property. You know, here. How about if I gift it to you, Mr. Officer?
Yeah,
Not trying to be a smart butt, but it's like, here, can you take her? You can give her a nice home.
yeah.
I mean,
How, how,
she's born welcome to stay there on the property. I don't care, But, I mean, yeah, we crossed her over, but I'm sure, we crossed her over, but we didn't cross her bones over. I mean,
no,
I'm sure they're still in the ground,
yeah.
but
Like you said, how am I gonna find? How am I gonna tell these officers that I found it there? Me and this guy in England and me in Japan, we found it. And they go, yeah, right.
I'm pretty sure the first person that finds the bones is the first suspect.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm like, no, I'm not digging.
yeah. I'm not doing that either. Because you said I was gonna do that, but then you said no, I'd rather not. You told me that. Remember?
Yeah, like, yeah, I would rather not do it. Maybe I can sweet talk the boys into doing it, but I doubt they're gonna want to either. They're gonna be like, no. They're gonna be like, forget you, Dad. And if it was Brandon, then I know Brandon would be like, how about if we have a wrestling match and if I win, I don't dig it. If I win, I don't get to dig her up. But if I lose, then I'll have to dig her up. But
Yeah,
I
that's
already know I'll probably end up getting beat up by my son. So it's like, no, we'll just let sleeping bones lie.
yeah. Because um, that house will never be. It's cleansed as far as putting them, helping them move on. But I don't think it'll ever be clean because the things that happen on that land. I
Hmm.
think we're just touching the tip of it. I think there's more things that happen on that land in the Victorian era, right?
I
'Cause-
think, well, I have this weird feeling that it wasn't just his kids.
yeah,
I think he was doing stuff with other people's children
yeah,
and not just his.
yeah. So I think that whole backyard is just loaded, if I'm not mistaken, right? The ones that stood out were just Liz, Jesse, and the two boys, right? And oh, and don't forget, Sadie, because Sadie came to me when I was taking a bath, and she asked me that she was done, that she didn't want to walk around anymore, and she wanted to be crossed over. So I did her not too long ago because
I'm gonna
I
show you eating.
I don't care. I had to eat like
Oh
I had to take that pill.
so
yeah. What pill was that? For mental pause. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
Mental.
No, no. It's actually I I I have a feeling that your your problem and your problem and my wife's problem. Well, not your problem yet, Amanda. You're young, so you haven't went to menopause. But the problem starts out with the first three letters.
Men.
Men. Menopause. They're like,
You are my
they're
problem.
like, what gave you this problem?
My husband.
Like, well, do you see how it's spelled? It's like, what's the first three letters? MEN. There you go, buddy.
I get it. I get it. I get it.
Just like mental breakdown. I had that starts with men.
The 3 words. Yeah. Oh, it's just crazy, crazy. Amanda, we're hitting the 3 hour mark.
We are.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ready to wrap it up for tonight, Irene?
Yeah.
Okay.
Afterwards.
Well, thank you. Sorry, what was that?
Afterwards, Brett. After the show. Stick around after the show.
oh
Come.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for
Go.
sure. Thank you for having us on.
Well, thank you for joining us. We enjoyed talking to you. We'll have to have you back another time.
Yeah.
I enjoy talking to you guys because not only am I interested in paranormal, I also enjoy. I'd like to have you two on. Like, I don't have a podcast platform that I'm kind of old school, so I'm not very computer literate. My sons have to do a lot of stuff for me. Like TJ is our. Can I say nerd? Okay. Okay, I think I already said it. He's our electronic
Hey,
nerd.
you
So,
said it already.
but I'd like to have you guys on that way I can talk to you guys because not only am I into the paranormal, but I love to hear other people's stories and what they go through and
Yeah,
what they
especially with
went through.
Japan is totally different
Yeah.
with ghosts. Energy wise, they feel different than the United States. But
Just the
also
robot
here,
wars.
I've seen the most shadow figures.
Mhm.
Both of them.
Like a lot of times, they're just not shy about being seen here.
Yeah. Her
Hey,
side, her
Irene,
side. My
can
side
you
is
do
the
your magic?
yeah. Her side's the old side, so she gets a lot of those old.
Hey, there you go. I don't know what the heck you do, lady. That's I think that's why I call you the Japanese Wonder Woman. Like it starts going in a robotic voice and you start waving your hands around like
Anyway.
Steve Miller. Abracadabra.
Yeah. Abracadabra.
We also have more cryptids in my area than in Tokyo
Yeah.
due to the fact is I live 2 hours away from Nagasaki bombing site, and then 4 or 5 hours away north of me is the Hiroshima. So the radiation from those bombs, they think created the many cryptids you see down here.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have a dedicated team to
Nope.
go out and investigate them or study them or research them. So that's the closest thing they're just like that's our theory, but we haven't actually researched to find out.
Yeah.
We don't have Bigfoot hunters here. We just don't. I wish we did, because
Yeah.
then we can have more information. But we don't have anyone pursuing that, which is just sad.
And we don't have any paranormal researchers either.
No,
Not in public. No. What do they say in public, right? In private, they do. Not in public, because they
Why?
have to work, and they don't want their jobs to be affected by what we do, right?
it's a taboo thing here to talk about. Like only me and Irene openly talk about it.
Yeah.
I think
Oh
Irene
wow.
said 2 or 3 people in her life there in Japan know about what she does.
Yeah.
So does some of the people in Japan frown on what you and Irene do because
Yeah,
it's shunned?
pretty much. Yes.
My church doesn't like it.
Oh wow. See, like I sit there and talk to some of the people at work. So I work for this place.
Mhm.
So if you know of like uh, Bill Elliott, he used to drive our race car in NASCAR, the Melling race
I
car.
used to live in Charlotte, so before I came here, so I know a lot of teams down there. Some
And
people
then
down there.
we have a drag racing car now, the Melling drag racing car. There's a chick that drives it. That's awesome.
But yeah.
A hot looking chick driving a hot looking car. I mean, she's a little bit thick, but she's a beautiful lady. But she's really nice. I haven't
Mhm.
met her, but I've heard nothing but good things about her, except for there's one time I heard somebody was telling me that she came to the shop. Her name is Erica Enders, and she drives a drag racing car for the NHRA, or National Hot Rod Association.
Mhm.
So she drives a milling car. And somebody, she comes to the shop, and one of the workers at the shop goes, "Hey, when you make it famous, can I get your autograph?" And she just gave him this mean mugging look like, "How dare you?" Like, she's already famous, and he is like, "Hey, can you make it famous? Can I get your autograph?" And she
You
just like
put
stared a hole through him, like, "Wow, how rude."
you put that foot in your mouth right there.
Yeah, and there was like a couple of the other workers that just looked at him and were like, basically like, "Dude, shut up." You know, like, like, why are you being so mean and rude? Like, she's coming here to, give her time. And, she was signing autographs, stuff like that, giving out items. Like, she didn't have to come and do this.
No. Oh well. Anyways, I'm going to sign off.
Yep. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you again soon. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.